Morning and welcome to the King's Report this Thursday, April 27th, 2017. It is the 8th year of Chungi, 4th month, 2nd day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Cheongji Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Let's go first to Tim, the agent elder, for our weather forecast. Tim.
Good morning. We have low clouds and a light fog around Cheongguk right now. It's 57 degrees, and before the sun rises in about an hour, we'll probably go down a few more degrees. And then up to 71 today is the forecast high. That's if the clouds hold. If the sun comes out, we may go higher. But the forecast is that we will have clouds all day, and that will be 71. Tomorrow we'll have sun, and so the temperature will go higher, probably some 79 or 80. And then also Saturday as well, around 80 degrees, and then back down to closer to normal temperatures then on Sunday.
70 degrees.
71 today, yes.
71 degrees. Wow. Well, that is going to be quite a change, isn't it, from the last couple of days?
Yes.
And then tomorrow will be 78, I heard. Is that correct?
I have 79. You may have 78. Somewhere around there, yes.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for that update. Let's go to our Rima today, and we are today in 1 Samuel and 2. 1 Samuel and 2 and 22. This is about prophecy against Eli's household. Eli was the high priest in the book of Samuel. I had it here with my tabs, but now I have so many tabs with so many different stories, I've kind of lost it in the whole slew of these articles. But Eli being the high priest in the book of Samuel. Verse 22, now Eli was very old, and he heard everything his sons did, who were very fallen and wicked. Okay, in the previous section, it says the wicked sons of Eli, they were corrupt. Okay, so in verse 22, Eli was old, and he heard everything his sons did to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. What does that mean? They were sexually deviant. Okay, they were wicked. They were sinning against the Lord. They were laying down, what they're saying, they're laying down with the woman at the meeting or the door of the tabernacle, the meeting. That's supposed to be a holy place, but then the prostitutes are gathering there to tempt the participants. They're supposed to go there to pray. They're supposed to go there to meet in holy reverence of God, but again, the sexual temptation and the sexual lures of the devil gets sent there, and they're trying to tempt the men who are going. And Eli's sons become tempted, and they fall. They become wicked and corrupt. When you adopt that type of sexual ethic, okay, and as a young person, you may just feel like it's simply one woman at a time, or you're just trying to seek love with your raging emotions and your hormones. You become one who becomes engulfed in an ethic. That is an ethic of exploitation, self-gratification, selfishness, an ethic of disloyalty. Is that a word, disloyal? Disloyalty. An ethic of betraying promises. An ethic of rebelling against God's commandment and purpose. As he created one man, one woman to cleave to one another, as Jesus himself spoke and clarified, because we see in the Old Testament there are prophets who have multiple wives. But Jesus, as the Son of God in the presence of God on earth, very clearly said that is not the original ideal. The original ideal being one man, one woman. And to leave their parents and cleave to one another to become of one flesh. And here you see the sons of Eli, who are supposed to be the holy, holy sons of a high priest. And they're laying with the women. What does that mean? They're having sex with the women, fornicating with the women, sinning with these prostitutes, or gathering before the tabernacle of meeting. It's a holy place. They're defiling it with their presence. We have to understand, not only are there predator men, but these women who are gathering at the tabernacle meeting, they're gathering there because they know that the men are gathering. They don't give a crap whether or not it's some holy place, and they're supposed to respect that. They're not supposed to tempt these men while they're going for prayer. Just like Christian women should not tempt their brethren and brothers and sisters by wearing such revealing clothing, because you are tempting young Christian men or Christian men. That's why the Bible, warns women, don't dress so sexually in a public place, of course. Because you are harming other Christian men who are trying to go for prayer or trying to, and then you got these, girls in short skirts up to their booty. They're basically wearing booty shorts in the damn church. I remember in Korea, the girls wear such short skirts. Shorts. Have you noticed that? Way shorter than even in America. You noticed that, right? In the summertime? Because the girls say, oh, make my leg look longer. They're wearing freaking booty shorts. Half their booty is hanging out their shorts, and they're going to church like that.
K-pop girl groups, I think, started that fashion.
I know, yeah. Korean girls, normally got no booty anyway, which is the reason why they're trying to wear shorter and shorter. Oh my Lord!
I really think daddy or mommy has to talk to their children and persuade them why that's not a smart way to dress it that way. Because,
Right. Can we hear the Queen?
Girls don't know why they can't dress like that.
They're like, why can't I dress like that? Everybody else dress like that, right? That's a great point the Queen's making. They just saying, oh, it makes my legs look longer. They don't get it. Men are not going to look at your legs and say, wow, her legs just look so much longer today. Then they, dang, I want to get in those panties. That's what they think. And these girls are not told that. They don't understand what they're doing. Okay, they're making some fashion statement, and they think this is such a cute little dress or cute little shorts. No, girls, you're harming another person. You're harming that guy who's trying to keep himself. And now you got these short booty shorts on, and his eyes are glued to your booty. You're not helping that man. And it's interesting. A lot of the Korean girls, not because they're sluts, they're actually not slutty. They're not sluts. And they just are dressing like that because it's just a fad. Whereas many times in the West, if you dress like that, if you're dressing provocative, usually you're pretty loose in the West. But in Korea, that doesn't necessarily mean that girl's a slut. So that's what's so frustrating. So when I was in Asia, what the hell are these girls dressing like this in church? It's just, and this is in Christian churches too. Point is, then you're inviting a predatory culture. And it's not like you have to dress like the Amish and wear a little bun. What's it, the colonial buns? What are those things called? Get a picture of those colonial buns. But what's that thing that they wear on the Amish farms? They have like a little thing that they tie down here. Bonnet. A bonnet. Ready to make maple syrup. With the bonnet on and a black dress with a white apron. There we go. That's almost like a veil, isn't it? The point is you're not supposed to tempt and harm another person just so you can be stylish. And it's not only that, that also invites a culture where tempting other brethren, brothers and sisters in Christ is good and seen as not a problem. And amidst those, you may have some, kids with good and, they may not be slutties. But then you may actually get the real slutties coming in, dressing like that, literally trying to prey off the boys and destroy their lives sexually so they basically become like them, like the prostitutes, who are already who know that what they're doing is evil. And so in order to feel better about themselves and justify their behavior, they want to ruin as many lives as possible to make themselves feel like they're not the only ones who are sinning. Of course, this is where a lot of women predators come in. This, of course, becomes a big problem for weak men and young men if the women at church are doing such things, and then you get the real predators in who actually will try to rape the boys at church, get them in a corner, take their pants off, literally perform oral sex on them. I told my children, I said, when we came to they come to middle school here, I said, you gotta be aware. Kids are gonna try to give you drugs, kids are gonna try to give you a drink, kids are gonna try to give you smokes. Kids are gonna you may get some girl try to, hear that you're saving yourself for marriage and literally want to destroy that because she's a slut and come and rip your pants off and try to start sucking your wee-wee. And this America is not only that, not even a girl, a boy may try to do that to you in a freaking locker room. So you better watch out. You better watch out and you better defend yourself. As if that happens, you grab their head and you knee them in the face. That's what you do. You grab them in the head and you tie plum grip and smash your knee in their face and run away. And you say you are defending yourself. People don't understand. Girls are not always innocent. There are many, many predator girls. Many. Especially the ones who are slutty. Because they want to ruin as many virgins as possible. And claim as many virgins as possible because they know they're so slutty and low quality. To justify themselves that they're not the only ones who sinner. And they're playing this game until they're 30 and 40. They're these hoes they're 30 and 40, and they got nobody. They're lonely. By the time they're 50, 60, they're just these old, nasty, low-quality women who sold their youth and beauty to Satan when they're young and gave their precious body and selves and sexuality to all these disgusting, despicable men and boys. And now when they're old, they're decrepit, pathetic. That's not the way. That's not the way. That's not the way. And of course, boom. Eli here is warning his own sons. Why are you so stupid? Why are you falling into the traps of these dumb women, these stupid, prostitutes that are hanging around the tabernacle, you idiots? He's saying, why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. He said, no, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people transgress. You see that? They make the Lord's people transgress by them sleeping with the sluts. They're making they're tempting the other boys to get in on that. Because all the boys want to get in on that in the beginning when they're young. And these idiots are, because they're falling that trap, they're tempting the other boys. Not only girls, that those prostitutes are tempting the guys. It's also those idiots who are falling into that trap that are tempting the guys. Oh, well, he's doing it. I'm gonna go do it too. It's so damn good. one man sin against another, God will judge him. You see what I'm saying? One man sin against another man. You are sinning because you're tempting another brethren to fall. That's girl or boy. You're sinning against your brother. You're supposed to be protecting them. You're supposed to be your brother's keeper. You're supposed to be your sister's keeper, but you're sinning against them. You're harming them, making it harder for them to follow the straight and narrow path. Because when you're young, especially the sexual overcoming that is so powerful and so requires lots of effort. Especially if you're blessed with social skills and you understand girls and you can exploit girls if you want, but it's very hard to overcome that. And Eli here is warning, don't sin against another. By doing that, if one man sin against another, God will judge him. But if a man sins against the Lord, who will intercede for him? Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because the Lord desired to, and because of that, the Lord desired to kill them. Why can we not understand that God gets incensed and wants to kill you sometimes? If you are full of sin and you are justifying that and you're trying to pretend like it doesn't exist. When God gives us free thing after free thing, free thing after free thing after free thing after free thing after free thing. They call it, in the Bible, they call it a free gift of God's love. Every little gift is a free gift of God's love, not because we deserve it, but because He is loving. Yesterday I wasn't complaining to the Queen, but I was just saying, I was like, dang, these kids don't know what they're getting with this training I'm giving them. You know how much time I had to spend to learn all those things? You know how much money I had to spend to learn all these things? These kids getting it for free. They don't know the value they get. And my own children too. If I only trained them, it's interesting. If I only trained them, right? They wouldn't even know the value. But since I trained the whole community and all these kids are there, and then they see all these other kids like, oh, dang. They see the other kids getting into it. Then they're like, oh, Shemitah, what my daddy's offering is very rare. It's not commonplace. It is not to be taken for granted. Because I don't have to share all these secrets. I don't have to give these things to the young people in our community. But I see it as a spiritual investment. So that these young people can become peace police, peace militia. They become more empowered. They can have successful blessings. Become powerful men and women of God. Raise beautiful children, have beautiful families. Pass that tradition down. Empower their children to be in the kingdom. Have a kingdom mentality. I complain too, in that realm. When I say, dang, these kids don't know what they're getting. They would have to scour that. I'm not saying, They would have to go so far to learn these kind of things. With the precision and detail. You can't, yes, you can watch stuff on the internet, but you're never going to learn the secrets. The masters never give you the secrets unless they trust you. The whole thing of martial art training and combat is a lot of trust that's involved. That's why your training partners become some of your most closest friends. Not only because you sweat on each other and beat each other up all the time, not because of that. They're so precious. The higher level you get, the less training partners you get. You can't just switch around. Because if you're preparing for some event or just self-defense or fighting, and you're just training in different dojos and you don't know the people there, you can train in a way that is harmful to you, and that you start fights which you don't want to do, which distracts you from actually preparing for your real fighting. So your training partner, the level of your training partner, becomes so important, becomes so critical. And as God is shaping this beautiful samurai sword, this katana which you're becoming, the master has to hold that tamahagani as your training partners come and beat you. Bam, 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 smash you. Let's get some video of the sword making, Japanese samurai sword making, of them smashing, bam, 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 with all the sparks flying. Let's skip this segment, okay? But let's get some video of that samurai sword making. It has to go, starts its birth in the crucible of fire. 3 days, 3 nights. The master is burning the coal, charcoal, pieces of charcoal with iron ore. That's put in this big clay oven, which is burned for 3 days and 3 nights. The iron ore is mixing with the charcoal, being forged in the furnace of fire. There you go. They're preparing the forge here. This is not actually the super traditional way. But then the tamahagani is created. 3 days, 3 nights of diligence, no sleep. There you go. And then it's held. Here we go. Watch this. It's held, and look at the. That's the one piece of tamahagani. And it's beaten. Look at those sparks flying. See, and stronger hits. Look at that. Starting weak at first, and now look, stronger and stronger hits. Sometimes they have 3 disciples that are beating it. Then it has to be in the fire again. This is really the perfect metaphor for the martial art training, real combat training. In the fire, beat up, beat, bing, bing, bang, 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 beat. And as it's cooling and getting harder, it's not even close. You got to trust the hammers of your training partners. But some you got to trust the turning by the master who's turning you, making them aim properly and making the metal be balanced out. See, look at the color. The color is very important. The master will look at the color because you can see the different quantities of iron ore and what needs to be pressed out, pulled out.
And the shock induced by hammering causes the surface to peel off. Impurities disappear.
As they refold and smash and refold and burn and crucible fire again, smash and refold and smash and refold, and this process of smashing and refolding and smashing and refolding pulls out the impurities. And it's this arduous, slow process of tens of thousands of hits, tens of thousands. And people just don't know. They're used to the factory machine where they're printing out the samurai. Said, no. This is how it's really made. Tens of thousands of smashes.
Quenched in water, cooling it down quickly. It is made harder.
That is the way that's what happens in training. Okay, enough of that. Thank you. That is what happens in training. When you're training the art of the warrior, the art of the samurai, the art of the ninja, the art of the warrior. Sometimes you don't feel like you're progressing. So slow. Even the queen, she gets frustrated all the time. I don't feel like I'm getting better. I'm always her psychologist and her doctor. And I was telling the kids yesterday, you have to be, or the day before maybe it was, you have to be aware of your mind state. You'll fall into depression. It's very common in these kind of combat arts because you get beat up over and over and over. You don't feel like getting better and better. You have to be able to capture the small victories. Notice the small victories that God is giving you. So what? You didn't get beat up. You got beat up today. You got beat up 3 times less than last time. You got to count that as a victory. Or maybe you went with somebody who was close to your level and they beat you once, twice, 3 times. They beat you up last time. But this time, they couldn't defeat you. Or maybe you were training with that person, always mount to you, and then this time you actually got out. See, you got to catch these small victories. Okay, you didn't win the whole war, fine. But you won a small battle. And you got to claim that. You got to claim that victory, even though it's small. Because that small victory starts adding up. Okay? They start adding up to the large victory. You have to be mindful enough not to hyper-focus on the fact that you lost the entire war that you're having with that person when you're training with them. But you got to focus on the small victories that you got. And as you get better, you're going to start winning more and more small victories, which will lead to winning some wars. There's so much that one learns when one trains in the real arts. Real arts where somebody is trying to harm you. And I told the kids, I warned them, look, you may like samurai sword stuff better than the Jiu-Jitsu day or the MMA day because you don't have the pressure of somebody trying to kill you. But you need to understand that it's the true warrior invites and revels in the pressure of somebody, the pressure and the fear that is created when you have to face somebody who's trying to harm you. That's what makes you stronger, not practicing forms. The sword stuff we did, yes, it's good. But that's not what makes you stronger mentally. That can be used as a supplement to your real training. But that in itself is not enough. The samurai just doing that kind of thing is not enough. He has to go on the battlefield and fight. But in the modern day, you're never going to fight with a samurai sword, so you're never going to feel that kind of real fight or flight fear. That's a problem with the samurai art as it is today. It's not connected with real battle. Because you can't fight with swords anymore. It's no longer the top level technology. Whereas gunfighting is different. Try training gunfighting is different because if you're training gunfighting, then you're probably going to go out and you're probably army or something like that. So you have a chance of actually having to use that on a battlefield. But at least in empty-hand combat and in mixed martial art training, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training, Muay Thai training, you have to actually get the fear of somebody trying to hurt you and harm you. And it's so uncomfortable and fearful at first because it's so anathema to our normal state, which seeks equilibrium, seeks a peaceful state. And you can fall in the trap getting addicted to samurai stuff because you don't have some opponent trying to harm you, and you can feel like you're a badass doing some stuff with the samurai sword, but you're not training your real martial spirit. So I warned the young people yesterday about that. Don't just like the samurai day training, samurai sword day training, because it's kind of cool and looks like a movie and it's kind of fresh and it's no pressure because you're basically doing the form there yourself and you don't have to deal with somebody trying to attack you. But that's not really going to unlock your epigenetics. Although it's a beautiful art. I love the art. I mean, the kids see it. I am versed in that art. I wouldn't say I'm a master, but I am versed in that art. I practice with a live razor blade sharp sword, 31 inch of razor blade sharpness, death. So yes, I have some level of skill there, but I don't delude myself because I know the real training is when you're training that fear factor that only comes when you're actually training in the combat. You're training with somebody else, not alone. Somebody else who's trying to harm you, who's trying to defeat you. That's where you really grow. When you're training in the place where everybody wants to run away from, the warrior. I love it because we're like the Christian samurai group here. It's like we're going back to the original Christian samurai. Not of a church, I'm saying, because being Christian doesn't mean you're of a church. It means you're of Christ, okay? Christian is not a religion. It means you're of Christ. You are a child of God. You are a child of Christ. You see what I'm saying? See that difference? It's not a church denomination. I'm even thinking, during the training, I'm thinking, we should read the Bible scripture at the end. We should read all together, read a Bible scripture, and just have that moment of peace at the end as Christian samurai. Because basically, these kids have become Christian samurai. It's like, this is way better than the freaking Shaolin Temple. And I've been to Shaolin. I trained at the Shaolin with De Chao, He Chang, with the monks there. This is way better. Because the nature of the Christian is supposed to be like a warrior. Ready to die. Ready to serve his master and his brethren. Ready to lay his life down. It's like, that's a totally different mindset than a Buddhist meditator who's not supposed to do that and supposed to go and seclude himself, separate himself from society, and just meditate for enlightenment. Whereas a Christian is supposed to be engaged and is supposed to be ready to battle and die, ready to battle the forces of evil. It's a very warrior spirit. But it's also it's based on love. One is doing that for the love of humanity, for the love of God, for the love of your neighbor, etc. Not for personal aggrandizement and or praise, or conquest, which is like Islam. So many things going on. We have some very important videos that everybody needs to see today that we will be going into. And of course, very important news. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Mrs. Kong will give us her morning Rima. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And welcome back to the King's Report this Thursday, April 27th, 2017. I am your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Channingu. Let's go now to Mrs. Kong for the special K moment. Tim, take it away.
Mrs. Kong is reading today from Acts 7, the scene where Stephen is martyred. This is Acts 7, verses 59 and 60. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep. Yeah,
안녕하십니까.
Good morning, everyone.
오늘 말씀드릴 내용은 사랑의 성도 손양원 목사에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다.
이름이 무슨 목사님이요? 이름을
손양원.
손양문 목사님이요?
예.
So today I'd like to speak to you about Reverend Son Young-mun, who was known as the Apostle of Love.
그는 1902년 6월 3일 경상남도 함안군 실월면 후정리 손종일 장로의 장남으로 출생했습니다.
He was born in the southern part of Korea in the early part of the 20th century.
일본 동경에서 고학 중에 선결교회에서 노방전도 하는 거기에 참여하여 나중에 교인이 되고 또 열심히 전도하는 청년이었습니다.
He studied in Japan, and he was witnessed in Japan and Tokyo, and converted to Christianity there, to the Holiness Church.
그는 한국에 나와 열심으로 전도하며
Evangelism activities, and he graduated from a Bible college.
1935년에 평양신학교에 입학을 해서 38년에 졸업을 했습니다.
And he entered a seminary in Pyongyang in 1935 and graduated in 1938.
1940년 9월 25일에 신사참배 문제로 감옥에 갇히어서 6년간 감옥 생활을 하고 나온 분입니다.
On September 25th, 1940, he was arrested and imprisoned for refusing to worship at the Shinto shrine that the Japanese required, and he was in prison for 6 years from then.
1948년에 옥중에서 나와 그리고 애양원 교회 시무 목사로 계셨습니다.
And after coming out of prison, he became the pastor for the Enyangmun Church.
1948년 10월 21일 여수 반란 사건으로 아들 손동인 군과 동신 두 아들이 피살되었습니다.
And on October 21st, 1948, his two sons were killed in a uprising in the Yosu area.
1950년 9월 25일 6.25 사변 중 공산당에게 총살 순교당했습니다.
And then he himself was killed on June 25th, 1950, when the North Koreans invaded South Korea, and he was killed in that during that invasion.
손 목사는 아버지가 장로이며 또 두 동생이 있었는데 역시 손이원, 손문준 이들도 목사로 3부자가 공산당에게 총살 순교하게 되었습니다.
His father was a lay leader, an elder in the church, and also his two brothers were also ministers, but they were all killed by the North Koreans during their invasion of the South.
이 가정은 아주 모범적 신앙 가정이었습니다.
And this family really was a family that was a model of faith.
손 목사는 어려서부터 기도에 아주 정성을 다하고 성경 보는 신앙 소년으로 이름이 나 있었습니다.
He was even as a young man, he was known to be a strong prayer, and he was famous for his faith.
애양원 교회는 나병 환자를 상대로 여기에서 교육을 했습니다.
The church that he was in charge of, the Yangwon Church, specialized, focused on the helping lepers, and was famous for that.
그들과 기거를 같이 할 뿐만 아니라 저들을 어루만져주고 심지어는 나병 환자들을 수용하고 있기 때문에 그 헌대의 고름까지도 입으로 빨아주었던 참 사랑의 사도였습니다.
And Reverend Sun not only helped the lepers, but he also would comfort them, and he would he was not afraid to touch them or even to lick their wounds, and so that was why he was known as the Apostle of Love.
손 목사는 부흥회에 나갔다가 돌아올 때마다 선물을 사가지고 와서 그들을 위로하고 사랑하며 또 그들에게 참 신앙의 아버지인 동시에 사랑의 아버지로 그들을 많이 감동시키는 생활을 했습니다.
When Reverend Son would go to someplace else to attend a revival meeting, he would always buy presents for the lepers in his community that he would give when he returned. And he was not only their father of faith, but also the father of love.
1948년 10월 19일 여수 순천 반란 사건이 일어났습니다.
Then there was 1948, October 19th, there was an uprising in the Suncheon area of Yosu.
붉은 물이 든 학생들은 그 앞잡이가 되어 비참하게 학살당하는 이가 여기저기서 많이 일어났습니다.
This was an uprising by young students who had been influenced by communist ideology, and many of them were killed by the government forces during that uprising.
그때에 중학교에 다니는 손 목사님의 두 아들들 손동인군과 동신군이 있었습니다.
And Reverend Son had two sons at that time, and they were attending middle school in that area.
그들은 저들의 손에 잡혀 십자가를 증거한 제물이었으며 또 더 나아가서 많은 핍박을 받았습니다.
The communist students, however, captured the two sons of Reverend Son, and they became sacrifices.
그 두 아들에게 욕설을 퍼부며 너도 기독교인과 같이 저 썩어 빠진 예수를 네 머리에서 뽑아버리지 못하겠느냐.
The communist students demanded that Reverend Son's two sons disobey or to betray Jesus and to deny Jesus.
이제라도 그 사상을 빼어버리고 우리와 같이 협력한다면 용서할 터이니 어때? 동인군은 학고 부동한 신념으로 대답하였습니다.
They told the communist students, told the two sons, if you deny Jesus Christ, then we will forgive you. Then you can join our revolution. But then one of the sons replied very forcefully as follows.
너희들이 내 목을 뽑을지언정 내 신앙은 뽑을 수 없다. 너희들도 이런 악마의 장난에 희롱당하지 말고 마음을 고쳐 정말로 바로 살고 또 예수를 바로 믿어주었으면 좋겠다고 전도를 했습니다.
The son said, you can remove my head, you can cut off my head, but you cannot cut out my faith. He said that you are being fooled by Satan, and I challenge you to obey Jesus.
곁에 섰던 자가 할 수 없다. 쏘라 하니 쏘라 하니 총을 쏘라는 말이 하니 동인군은 나는 죽어도 여한이 없다. 왜냐하면은 지금 내가 죽으면 천당에 가지만은 너희들은 이 같은 악행을 감행하고 그 무서운 지옥의 형벌을 어떻게 면할 수 있겠느냐 하면서 그들에게 소리를 쳤습니다.
And so the communist student who was commanding the firing squad told the squad to begin to fire at the son. And the son said, I have no regret in dying because I know that if I die now, I will go to heaven, but you will go to hell for committing this murder.
이 소리를 들은 폭도들은 스데반에게 달려 들었던 것과 마찬가지로서 정말로 악당들 같이 이를 갈며 주먹을 쥐고 쏘아라 하나 둘 셋 하면서 그네들은 총을 쏘았습니다.
And that made the man in charge of the firing squad even angrier. He told them to fire again, and the squad began to fire.
총소리가 끝나자마자 땅땅하는 이 총소리와 함께 동인군은 기도했습니다. 아버지여, 내 영혼을 받으시옵소서. 저들이 지금 큰 죄를 짓고 있습니다. 이 말이 끝나기도 전에 펄쩍 동인이 오르면서 쓰러져 죽었습니다.
And as they began to fire, Tongin prayed, Father, please receive my soul. They are committing a great sin. But even before he could finish those words, his body was killed.
이 광경을 보고 있는 아우 동생 동신이가 자기를 붙잡고 있는 사람들을 뿌리치고 달려나가 피 흘리고 쓰러진 형의 시체를 부담고 울며 형님은 저 영광스러운 천국에 갔습니다. 나도 형님 뒤를 따라 가겠습니다. 하며 반란군 학생들을 향하여 그는 외쳤던 것입니다.
His younger brother was watching this, watching his older brother being killed in this way, and when he saw this, he shook off the people who were holding him, and he went and embraced his brother's body and said, "Brother, you've gone to heaven now. I will follow you to heaven."
왜 무죄한 자의 피를 흘리는가? 무죄한 형님의 피를 흘린 너희들의 죄를 어찌 하려는가? 그러나 이제라도 회개하고 예수를 믿으라고 그 와중에서도 전도를 했던 것입니다.
And his younger brother then turned to the killers, the firing squad, and told them, "Why have you killed this innocent man? I challenge you even now to repent and to believe in Jesus, accept Jesus."
이때에 우리 중에 한 사람이 저놈도 죽이자 하니 모두들 그러자 하며 떠들었습니다.
And then the one person in the crowd said, "Let's kill that boy too." And the other said, "Yes, let's do that. Let's do that."
동생 되는 동신이가 나도 우리 형님 가신 천국에 가겠다. 내 신앙도 우리 형님과 조금도 다름없이 꼭 같다. 두 팔을 벌리고 우리 주 예수께서 십자가에 달리신 것처럼 나도 십자가 모형으로 총을 받을 터이니 자 쏘아보라고 아주 대담하게 얘기를 했습니다.
And the younger brother said, I will go to heaven just as my brother has. My faith is no less than my brother's. And he held out his arms horizontally in the form of a cross. He says, I will go to heaven in the same posture that Jesus did. And he held out his chest towards the firing squad and said, go ahead and shoot.
적도들은 야 이놈은 그 형보다 더 시독한 놈이로구나. 이놈을 그냥 둘 수 없다. 자 총살하자고 해서 동신이도 총에 맞아 죽게 되었습니다.
And the crowd said, this younger brother is worse than his older brother. We cannot leave him be. We have to kill him. And so they did. They shot him dead.
동신이는 죽어가면서도 아버지여 이들의 죄를 용서하여 주시옵소서 회개시켜 주시옵소서 그리고 정말로 몇 발의 총성을 울릴 때에 이 아들은 아버지 어머니하고 그 말이 끝나기 전에 몇 발의 총성과 함께 동신이도 그 형의 시체 옆에 쓰러졌습니다.
As he was being shot, the young brother said, Father, please forgive them. They are committing a sin. Please help them to repent. And he called out to his father and mother, and he crumpled dead beside his older brother.
이 동생도 제 동료에게 총을 맞아 정말로 그 생명을 빼앗기고 말았습니다.
And so his life was taken away in this way.
그 생명을 빼앗은 자는 제선이라는 학생과 그 외 몇 사람이었습니다.
And the people who were shooting was a student named Cheson and others.
그 후에 국군이 들어가자마자 이 제선이는 붙잡혀 총살당한 것이 아니고 총살형을 받았습니다.
But in that, Cheson, one of the persons in the firing squad, was later given a sentence to be killed by firing squad.
이 소식을 들은 손 목사는 순천에 있는 나덕환 목사에게 연락하여 그 아이를 총살 직전에 좀 건져 주어야 되겠다고 부탁을 했습니다.
Reverend Son then contacted a Christian minister who was in that area and asked him to save Cheson so that he would not be killed by firing squad.
며칠 후 손 목사는 아들을 죽인 원수 안재선의 집을 찾아갔습니다.
It was An Jae-son, the family name was An, and Reverend Son went to the home of An Jae-son a few days later.
나 목사의 부인은 저 애가 하면서 재선이를 가르쳤습니다.
And the wife of the minister that he had contacted pointed out the boy who was the young man who was part of the firing squad that killed his two sons.
손 목사는 그를 보며 예, 이리 오너라 하니 곁에 있던 그의 아버지가 떨리는 목소리로 재선아 목사님께 인사드려라.
And Reverend Son called on the young man to come to him, and the young man's father, with a trembling voice, told his son to go to Reverend Son and give him the proper greeting.
재선 역시 떨리는 팔로 일어나 절을 하였습니다.
And Cheson was also trembling as he got up and went near to Reverend Son.
손 목사는 그 손을 붙잡고 한참 보다가 네가 재선이냐? 너 안심하여라. 네 실수를 나는 벌써 용서하였다고 했습니다.
When he drew near, Reverend Son took Cheson by the two hands, and I said, "Are you Cheson? You don't need to worry about anything. I've already forgiven your mistake.
하나님께서도 이미 용서해 준 것으로 나는 믿는다.
I believe that God also has forgiven you.
나는 너의 지나간 죄를 기억하지 않을 터이니 그 과거에 그릇된 사상을 다 청산하고 예수를 바로 믿고 잘 믿고 훌륭한 사람이 되어주기만을 바란다고 했습니다.
He told the young man, I've forgotten your sin. I will not remember it. I just want you to to get rid of that wrong ideology that you've been believing and for you to accept Jesus.
내 죽은 아들들이 할 일을 네가 다 대신 하여야 한다.
He said, I want you to do the things that my two sons were to have done.
그 애들은 신앙정신, 그 손목사 아들의 얘기입니다. 그 애들의 신앙정신, 그 사상을 본받아서 정말로 주님만을 위하여 살아주면 고맙겠다고 간곡히 말했습니다.
He told Chaeson that he wanted him to model himself after the faith of his two sons and to live the way that his two sons would have lived as a strong Christian.
그때의 제선이는 아무 말도 못하고 눈물만 뚝뚝 떨어 터리면서 고개를 못 들고 있었습니다.
And Jason could not respond with any words. He just bowed his head and wept.
손 목사는 그 이후에 자기 아들로 삼고 이름을 안재선이가 아니라 손재선이라고 지어주었습니다.
Reverend Son, from that time, referred to Jason not as An Jason, that was originally the name, but as a Son Jason, in other words, giving him his own family name.
그리고 그를 부산 성경학교에 보내고 목사를 만들려고 위하여 기도하고 있다는 소식까지만 전합니다.
And he sent Jason to the Bible College in Busan so that he could become a minister and prayed that he would become that.
손 목사는 유명한 목사입니다.
Reverend Son is a famous minister.
6년간의 옥고를 치르고 나왔으며 6.25 때 교우들이 피난을 하라고 간곡히 권유했습니다마는 내가 양떼를 두고 어떻게 내가 혼자 피난을 가겠느냐, 나는 못 가겠다고 극구 사양을 했습니다.
When the North Koreans invaded in 1950, everyone else went south to escape the invasion, but he refused to go. He said that how can I leave my flock here and just be saved by myself?
1950년 9월 13일 공산당에게 그는 총살당하고 순교했던 것입니다.
And he was killed on September 23rd, 1950, by a communist fire.
정말로 예수님의 이 정신을 손목사가 올바로 계승받지 못했다면은 이 인간으로서 할 수 없는 이 일을 어떻게 감당할 수 있겠습니까?
If he had not received, if he had not inherited Jesus' heart, he could not have done these things.
원수의 아들을 자기 아들로 삼고 자기 두 아들을 죽인 그를 자기 아들로 삼고 공부를 시킨다는 얘기를 들었을 때에 얼마나 위대한 목사님이라는 것을 느꼈습니다.
He treated the young man who had killed his two sons as he treated him as his own son, and even paid for his education. That shows what a wonderful minister he was.
이네들이 성경학교에 와서 공부할 때에 저도 그를 본 적이 있습니다.
I also met that young man, Mrs. Kong met that young man when he was studying in the Bible college.
그는 얼마 오래 살지는 못했습니다마는 참으로 뜻있고 값있고 보람된 일생을 보냈으며 정말로 하나님께서 주님께서 얼마나 이들을 소중히 여기는 입장에 처해 있는 분들이라는 것을 저는 많이 느끼고 많이 눈물도 흘렸던 것입니다.
These people did not live long lives, but they led very meaningful lives. And I felt very strongly that God was able to guide them in their lives.
예수님의 이 사랑의 정신이 아니면은 어느 누구도 할 수 없었지만은 그는 실천하고 갔었던 것입니다.
He did things that would have been impossible for the normal human being to do, but he was only able to do it because he inherited Jesus' heart of love.
이 아침 제가 이 말씀을 왜 드리느냐 하면은 적어도 우리들이 같은 신앙의 길을 가는 입장에 처해 있다면 적어도 신사참배 문제로 옥고를 치르고 또 더 나아가서 목숨을 다 빼앗겼던 이 두 분 주기철 목사 이 얘기를 제가 요 며칠 전에 하고 또 손양원 목사님의 이 순교 정신 오늘 우리도 이걸 본받아서 정말로 목숨 내어놓고 우리도 한 뜻을 위하여서 아버님과 같이 희생 봉사하는 정신을 가지고 이렇게 우리도 살다가 간다면은 얼마나 정말로 하나님이 아버님이 기뻐하시는 반면에 우리들의 생애도 값진 생활이 될 것으로 생각이 되어집니다. 감사합니다.
The reason that I tell you this story today is because, as with the Reverend Chugi Cho that I spoke about a couple of days ago, we need to inherit their spirit of sacrifice and of martyrdom, and we need to. They can be models for us as we try to emulate ourselves after Father's life of giving and of sacrifice. And if we can live our lives that way, then we'll be able to fulfill God's will on this earth. Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back after this short break.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings,
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Thursday, April 27th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyung Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Now getting to the top news of the day. ACLU defends culture. We must protect speech, says the ACLU. Unbelievable. Wow. The ACLU have become totally hijacked and bought off, totally biased and totally against really conservatives' rights. The ACLU, along with the Southern Poverty Law Center, for the last couple of years, completely allowing Obama to get away with everything, and any conservative and or Tea Party actions being completely, being silent on any of the rights that were infringed on the conservative voices. In a surprise, comes out and actually defends Ann Coulter and Berkeley, banning her, canceling her speech at the University of California, Berkeley, which is, of course, proven to be a totally leftist communist area. The ACLU National tweets, the heckler's veto of Coulter's Berkeley speech is a loss for the First Amendment. We must protect speech on campus even when hateful. Yes, because it's hateful when you have a conservative opinion. And or it's hateful when you are for common sense. Coulter announced earlier Wednesday that she would no longer appear at Berkeley after conservative groups sponsoring her remarks withdrew their support. There will be no speech, she told Reuters. I looked over my soldier, my allies had joined the other team. It's a sad day for free speech. Coulter told the New York Times, everyone who should believe in free speech fought against it or ran away. Young America's Foundation, the group that had sponsored Coulter planned event speech Thursday, said Berkeley made it impossible to hold a lecture due to the lack of assurance for protections from foreseeable violence from unrestrained leftist agitators. There you go. Berkeley should be ashamed of itself for creating the hostile atmosphere. Noting the school police's stand down policy. There you go, another pathetic expose on Berkeley and showing how absolutely degenerate and degraded that institution of, quote, learning has become. It is completely an institution of indoctrination and a pathetic institution at that. In other top news, Kim prepares for war. North Korean leader takes the salute as his army fires rockets, torpedoes at mock enemy warships during the country's largest ever live fire artillery drills. This was, of course, held Tuesday. Tim mentioned that was covered on Tuesday, but here are some of the pictures that are now top news on Drudge. Look at that. Look at those explosions that are happening. Oh boy, look at that boy. He's so, what a pathetic tyrant. What is with that Asian afro? What's with that Asian afro that he has? That is the weirdest. Oh my gosh! I mean, look at that chubby, fat, little, pudgy, little Pillsbury Doughboy, nuclear power button pressing freak. And there he is. And there he is with the artillery fire. I mean, look at these poor slaves, these poor Korean slaves that have to do the bidding of this Porky the Pig, Thai totalitarian. There you go. Explosions as they shoot torpedoes and military artillery. Look at that. Wow, look at that. It's so pathetic. There you go. See the video where they're shooting the artillery fire on the beach. Wow, look at that. Hundreds of tanks were lined up along the eastern coast town of Wonsan at a show of military strength celebrating 85 years since the North Korean Army was created. There you go, shooting missiles. Dozens of missiles were fired across the sea to mark the anniversary of the missiles and military's creation. That's in the direction of China, I guess. It's on the west coast. Hundreds of flag-bearing soldiers salute as they stood next to weapons. There they are. That is so sad. The People Army positioned tanks along the coast as planes soared overhead. And there you go. Those look like American fleet. South Korean and U.S. hold joint military drills. There are some pictures from the U.S. Army M1A2 tanks during joint military live-fire drills. There's South Korea shooting some drills of their own. In a demonstration of force and collaboration with the U.S. There you go. Apache helicopters firing missiles. So you just can't live in a diluted reality. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was practicing Buddhism and I was getting to the whole sort of cultist mentality of this imaginary fantasy land, and would idolize the Dalai Lama, who I eventually met anyways. But he would always talk about the disarmament. Everybody needs a disarmament, with as will be bring peace, and et cetera, et cetera. No, it won't. No, it won't. The archangels of the world and the governmental archangels always will create weapons. Always. It won't stop. Because you do Buddhist meditation and you visualize your mandalas of ideal Buddhist cosmic universes. No. That is mental escapism. That's what I found it is. It's really mental escapism. It's completely detached from reality. It's completely detached from reality. And that is, in the end, why the globalists and so many bankers and supporters and so many evil people supported the Dalai Lama. Even though I don't think his motivation was nefarious. He comes across as the Yoda of the sort of leftist pop cult. He's like the Yoda figure, the Asian master that is so wise. And yes, he has many insights into the mind, etc., things like that. But when it comes to reality, when it comes to, I'm not just talking about epistemological reality. I'm talking about reality in reality. You will not create world peace by disarming the public, disarming people, because only then the criminals will have arms. And that is a reality. That is the reality of how evil works. It will always try to gain the advantage. It will always try to gain the advantage of force, because through force, they can control resources, steal resources, and control the nexus of money and murder. And through that, they can take over civilizations, starting from local areas to large areas, etc., depending on what type of mafia crime syndicate they are. It's always going to be the use of force, always. And if good people, honest people who are not armed and do not know how to have dominion over the use of force, they will always become prey to the predators. Always. That is the harsh reality of the natural world, so to speak, of the world we live in. Human beings are able to create weapons, and thus they were able to become more dominant and more powerful than even the lions and the most dangerous animals in the animal kingdom. But that came because they were able to harness the power of force, because then the animals would not be able to use force upon them. And they would be able to have counteracting force, which will allow those animals to flee and allow human society to burgeon, prosper, and flourish. The use of force is absolutely critical to survival, absolutely critical. When I was in my Buddhist fantasy land, you want to just be in this idyllic sort of utopian state where you're visualizing cosmoses of peace. It's not happening. Meanwhile, the world can continue to fall apart. One must be realistic with the nature of free will. With the nature of free will is always the ability to choose evil, and some people will always choose evil, try to group and band together with others who choose evil and to steal resources and to harm innocent people. And that is why the peace police, peace militia is so necessary in China Goken. Is the bedrock of the foundation of the society. Not only to unlock epigenetics of men and women and young boys and girls so they become more realistic and more powerful individuals, but also more realistic and humble. But so that they may inherit the kingdom and keep that for the next generations to come. So the next generations don't fall into hedonism and laziness and slothfulness. It is a sagacious gift that God gives to us. that true Father gave to us. Peace, please, peace, please. It is the wisdom of God. Because God knows that free will sometimes produce those who choose to do evil. But when those psychopaths can harness all the force, and everybody else has to be at the behest, and at the bidding, and at the mercy of them, wow, that is the kingdom of hell on earth. That is the definition of totalitarian oligarchy and communism, socialism, etc. It is the definition of hell. That is why good people must be armed. That's why good people must be held with the rights of kings. That's why good people must have the dominion over creation by having the dominion of force. Not so they can bully people and use it, so they can chase off and ward off the predators who try to bully people and use it for their own personal gain and to accumulate and monopolize resources for themselves. That's why good people must not be ashamed of having arms and having force. Look at this. Look at my computer. See that? Can you see that? Here. Get this picture, baby. Look at that. Without me pulling out all the wires. Does she see that? Look at that beautiful AR right there. It's matching my cute little outfit today. Is my outfit cute today? Hey, baby queen, where you at, girl? She's on her earphones. She's on her phone. There's like a time delay. It's so weird. She's on a time delay, and then she's also writing and responding. So she can't actually hear me when I'm saying it. But like 10 seconds later, she'll look at me and say, there it is, right there, see? It's like a 15-second delay, isn't it? It must be a 15-second delay. Is my outfit cute? Let's see. Let's time. Ready? Hold on. Where's the timer, Tim? Do we have a timer? Okay, let's see. Let's see how many, do you have a timer? Let's get how fast the delay is. But look at that. See that AR, that cool AR decal? Look at that AR decal on my computer. You see that? Go ahead, back that up, Maria. Look that up. Look at that. There you go. Hey, there you go, man. That's a pretty sweet decal right there. There you go. See that, how it matches my suit? I need to get an AR for summer season, one for winter season, maybe in pink with flowers on it. We need to get one that's summer to match the lighter color suit and the outfits. Okay, do you have a time? Do we have a timer?
Yes, I do.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Here we go. Does my outfit look cute? There you go. Hit to the timer. Ready? We'll see how many seconds that it's going to be. We're doing a live experimental test right now to see whether the queen will, when she will. Okay, it's already 10-second delay. Look at this. We're doing a live experimentation right here online. 15 seconds. There we go. We're going live right now. She still hasn't heard it. It's already a 20-second delay. Look at that. Look at that.
25.
There we go. 25-second delay. Okay, there she is. Now she's looking. That's a 30-second delay. It's a 30-second delay. Wow, I thought it was 15 seconds. Okay, that was a live experimentation done on YouTube, probably the first in history. Okay, you never know what to expect on the King's Report. All right, enough about my outfit, and let's go back. Let's go back to our news. So you can see, of course, look at those missiles being fired, and getting back to our whole discussion about the use of force, folks. Look, you can still be elegant and have the use of force, okay? That's what's so wonderful. We got to have some beautiful royal balls where everybody comes in their tribal king and queen outfits and have beautiful gowns and beautiful robes and beautiful flowing dresses and gorgeous, it's a great excuse for girls to go shopping, pick out a super cute dress. But the rule is you come in with a super cute dress, but you have to be armed. What? Now they're laughing. You think I'm joking? I'm not joking. The rule is it's a royal ball, so you have to be dressed in beautiful royal dresses and beautiful tuxedos and beautiful royal clothes, and you have to wear the tribal king and queens, and we're going to be there with the King of Kings and the kingship of God. But also, the rule is everybody has to be armed. Of course, legally, okay? You have to make sure you have a permit and all that kind of thing. You have to be legally able to carry. But all those with legal hair, you have to carry, and you have to carry concealed, okay? So all the ladies may have to have practice, having holsters that are inside the leg. So they have those, inside the leg thigh holsters, okay? Or you have one kind of in your purse, but when you have a nice dress, you do a little clutch. You don't do really a purse, right? You got to do a little clutch. So that's very hard to put a little firearm in there, you know what I mean? So you got to probably do inside the leg holster. You know what I mean? We can get all the ladies in their beautiful royal robes, and royal dresses, and beautiful satin, and diamond out or whatever. And they can be in their room. We'll have one picture with all sitting like that, and smiling, take a picture. Hey, 1, 2, 3, cheek. And the next picture, 1, 2, 3, whoosh, and they all pull out, show their firearm. How dope would that be? All right, folks, we're going to take a break as we have a great time in the morning in the King's Report. It's only us that has this much fun in the morning without, illegal substances. We're high on the Holy Ghost. We'll be right back after this short break.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Oh, goodness. And we are back on the King's Report. Welcome back this April 27th, 2017. And I am sighing gasps of disbelief as I look at the news of North Korea. And I look at the dictator Kim Jong-un there, literally Porky the Pig with an Asian afro. He has 10 federal official haircuts which are allowed in North Korea, okay? Which is ridiculous. Okay, go guys, pull up the state. Let's see, North Korea approved haircuts. Okay, there's like 9 different haircuts that are approved by the state, and that you have to have. And he has an illegal haircut. He's got a haircut that is not on that list. He can have an Asian afro. Meanwhile, the normal North Koreans cannot have an Asian afro. That is ridiculous. Look at that. Okay, there you go, folks. There you go. Put that up, y'all. There you go. There's 18. That's for women, okay? But it's okay. Put that up so people can see it. These are 18 different haircuts approved by the federal government in North Korea. You see that? Once you give your rights over to the federal bureaucracies, folks, this is what you get. This is proof right here. There you go. There's about 10 for men. Oh, that's 9. That's 9. Oh, I'm sorry. That's 10. There you go. There are 10 approved haircuts. Now, there's 10 approved haircuts there, but I don't see the Asian afro. Now, let's go back to the picture of Porky the Pig with Asian afro. Let's go back to Kim Jong-un's picture on my screen. Boom! He has an illegal haircut. He's got an illegal haircut. And the punishment for illegal haircut is what? Is it capital punishment? I don't think it's capital. I think they just cut your hair.
They probably just send you to a labor camp for a few years.
You had an illegal haircut. You shaved your sides and had the Asian afro in a copy of the dictator. You are sent to labor camp. You must go to labor camp. You must go and do the working there. That's English with a Korean accent. You must go labor camp. That's Chinese accent. You must go labor camp. That's a Japanese accent. You see, they're all different. Asian people don't speak the same. You understand? They all got different English Asian accents. You see that? Those are pretty good, aren't they?
Yes, they're very good.
They're all different. All different accents. You understand? Indian is, you must go to labor camp. Labor camp. In the time, it's only $5. That's the Indian. That's the Indian labor camp. All right, you understand? Not all Asia speaks the same. We got different accents. You understand? You racist white people. Just joking. I'm just playing with you. I'm playing. But there you go, folks. There you go. Very sad images from North Korea and the oppressed slave class there. Look at those slave women who can be called at any instant to sleep with the government officials. They have to open their bodies up to the government officials if they're beckoned and summoned, and if they don't, they're killed, literally, or they're blackmailed so that their entire family is targeted. I mean, do you understand? This is why psychos want to collude and to control resources and get power. Because they want you, girls. And it's a dumb, unmarried women, statistically, who vote for the socialist, communist, totalitarian left. Of course, not girls in our community, those viewers who are awake and watching, but regular, brain-dead, indoctrinated young girls. They give it away to the archangel. Literally, politically. Literally give it away. And implode and destroy. They get wooed in by the lies of the devil. There you go. North Korea doing more military exercises this week. Also, the Washington Free Beacon reports senators told North Korean nuclear threat is urgent. Rare White House session hears from Mattis, Tillerson, Coates, and Dunford.
This is an article by Bill Gertz.
Oh, this is by Bill Gertz. There you go. The Senate took part in a rare White House briefing on Wednesday to hear what senior leaders described as an urgent national security threat posed by North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. The hour-long secret session for all senators was held at the Eisenhower Executive Office building next to the White House and included a brief appearance from President Trump, who made short introductory remarks. Marine Corps General Joseph Dunford, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also took part in the session. His presence is an indication that military options for dealing with North Korea likely were discussed. New steps by the administration will include the imposition of additional economic sanctions, which, of course, Tim has said millions of times do not work. And the United States seeks stability and the peaceful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. We remain open to negotiations towards that goal. However, we remain prepared to defend ourselves and our allies, said Defense Secretary James Mattis and Rex Tillerson. Trump's approach seeks to pressure North Korea into dismantling nuclear ballistic missiles and proliferation programs through imposing tighter economic sanctions and diplomatic measures, the three leaders said. The senior officials noted that the past efforts to halt North Korea's illicit arms program has failed. With each provocation, North Korea jeopardizes stability in Northeast Asia and poses a growing threat to our allies and the U.S. homeland. And there you go. There you go, folks.
There's a lot of speculation as to why this meeting was held on that particular day, yesterday, because there was some speculation previously that April 27th, that is today, might be a good day for the U.S. to attack North Korea.
And it's some kind of full moon you were mentioning before?
A new moon, yes.
A new moon, here you go. Hawaii threatened by North Korea now, U.S. commander tells Congress. In Washington, the Pentagon needs to consider deploying new anti-ballistic missile systems and defensive radar to Hawaii to protect against a growing threat from North Korea, the top U.S. military officer in the Pacific told Congress on Wednesday. Kim Jong-un is clearly in a position to threaten Hawaii today, in my opinion. Admiral Harry Harris, the chief of U.S. Pacific Command, told the House Armed Service Committee, I have suggested that we consider putting interceptors in Hawaii that defend it directly and that we look at a defensive Hawaii radar. Again, folks, Hawaii is so economically depressed because it's taken on liberal, progressive, communist, leftist policy. The tourism industry is down. Vandalism, gang, and drug crime is skyrocketing up. Hawaii itself is collapsing. And of course, what do they have to do? But again, fearmonger and warmonger again say we need now missile defense and we're under threat. Politicians love doing this. They love doing this. They love doing it. Yes, we are under threat. You know who's under greater threat than Hawaii? South Korea. You know who's under greater threat than Hawaii? Japan. Hawaii, of course, may possibly be able to be struck by missiles from North Korea, but it's in such an economically depressed state by the citizens continue to choose communist leftist policy and policymakers who are imploding that economy and destroying it and ravaging it and allowing it to become into this third world country. Nobody wants to go visit Hawaii now, at least some parts of it, because it's been so overtaken with gangs and drugs and crime. Tourism is down in Hawaii. It's becoming less and less safe to travel to Hawaii because of these leftist policies there. And of course now, because now the citizens are getting aware and sick of it, they need more missile defense. Oh yes, of course, now we got to go to war. This is the Chinese method too. Every time there's some dissident issue, it's always, we need some war. The world is sick of these wars. We don't want no more wars. Just get out of our way. Let people be free and responsible. If there is a clear and present danger and a real threat, that's one thing. But going out and try to police the world and going out and try to make world peace by starting wars everywhere and listening to the Republican rhinos and the leftist Democrats, this is leading us into perpetual state of economic dysfunction, military dysfunction, national dysfunction. And it is a sad thing that Trump is being lured into this whole foreign policy bonanza with these crazed out, frothing at the mouth, demonic leftist Democrats coupled with these insano rhino Republicans that got these erections for war. It is despicable and disgusting. We do not want these useless wars anymore. Now, if there's a clear and present danger to the United States and its citizens, that's one thing. My father talked about many times after the Korean War was over that it should have been united right then.
Yes.
It should not have been given over and split up in half and, quote, negotiated and allowed one side to become communist and one side to be democratic, so to speak. Why did we give that to China? And then the Rockefellers backed putting Mao in and these super leftist, globalist, political Satanists in the central banking cartels supported the communist takeover of China and the communist infiltration of China. David Rockefeller writing in 1979 that Mao Zedong was an example and he's doing great results in China after murdering 100 million innocent Asian poor people. These people are devils. They are Satans on this world. The super elites put them into power and supported them into power. They didn't want that nation to be free. They don't want Asian people to be free. They don't want poor Asians to be able to work hard and be able to have free markets and be able to own private property and be able to have guns. They don't want that. They want to be little ants, little workers, little laborers for them to use and exploit at cheap wages at 2.2 cents an hour. in sweat factories. But you have a little area like Hong Kong, have a little bit of fortune by essentially becoming having a free market there after being completely neglected and disregarded by the Chinese communists. And what happens? They become completely prosperous because they actually have free markets there. Milton Friedman had a wonderful piece on Hong Kong. In the 70s, he actually made a video piece of that. Very well done, where he covered Hong Kong. But you can see with the Asian work ethic and how crazed they are about studying and trying to be successful. It's like a cultural in Asia. It's cultural. To study and do well and be prosperous and like they're doing these things. They make tremendous prosperity when they're free. Our problem with North Korea started way many decades ago when we supported commies taking over the North, when we supported commies taking over China. The point is, that was a bad situation that we started, and now it's becoming worse. They should have listened to the Lord of Second Advent, saying, give them freedom. No, but they listened to the global elite cartels and the banking cartels. They said, no, we want to go rape ravage the Chinese. We want to go rape ravage. It's a big population. Let's take them. And now, of course, that has ended us up in potential nuclear war in East Asia today. Of course, spiritual side being the Han Mother falling. We're going to take a short break, and let's see you on the next side of this break. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This Thursday, April 27th, 2017, as I play around with the Queen during the break. I'm your host, Hong Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Let's go now to David Wood's new video on Linda Sarsour, who is the Muslim apologist Sharia law toting demon, caught lying about female genital mutilation in Islam. She's a fake feminist, and here you go. Let's play that video.
Spends quite a bit of time trying to convince Americans that they would absolutely love Sharia. You'll know when you're living under Sharia law if suddenly all your loans and credit cards become interest-free. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Wow, so if I sign up for Sharia, I get interest-free loans and credit cards. Not to mention child marriage, spousal abuse, raping female captives, stoning adulteresses, the death penalty for apostates, and the violent subjugation of all non-Muslims. Sharia, come for the interest-free loans, stay for the pedophilia and female genital mutilation. Speaking of female genital mutilation, you'll never guess who just got caught lying to all of her gullible followers about female genital mutilation. I'll give you a hint.
I am every Islamophobe's worst nightmare.
She's every Islamophobe's worst nightmare. Someone who constantly lies about Islam in order to deceive people who would never in a million years sit down and actually read an Orthodox Muslim source. Obviously, if you're trying to get Americans to warm up to Sharia, you have to keep them utterly ignorant of almost all of Sharia. Just keep telling them about the interest-free credit cards until they're being forced to convert with swords at their throats. Police recently arrested a gang of female genital mutilators in a Detroit suburb. The 3 suspects are all members of the Dawoodi Bohra sect of Shia Islam. Now, as warped and twisted as our ethical views have become here in America, people still tend to agree that doctors shouldn't be chopping off little girls' clitorises. So who's going to step in and protect Islam from criticism? Everyone's favorite fake feminist responded to the arrests with, "Female genital mutilation has no place in Detroit or anywhere else in the world. Female genital mutilation is barbaric and is not an Islamic practice." I agree with Linda Sarsour that female genital mutilation is barbaric and that it has no place in Detroit or anywhere else in the world, but I'm confused by her claim that it's not an Islamic practice, mainly because Muslim scholars and her prophet say the exact opposite. For instance, the sheikhs at the fatwa site Islam Question and Answer were asked to comment on this topic. A concerned Muslim wrote, "Nowadays we hear that many doctors denounce the circumcision of girls and say that it harms them physically and psychologically, and that circumcision is an inherited custom that has no basis in Islam." Sounds like something Reza Aslan would say.
I mean, the argument about the female genital mutilation being an Islamic problem is a perfect example of that. It's not an Islamic problem, it's an African problem.
Well, wait.
The scholars replied, "Praise be to Allah. Firstly, circumcision is not an inherited custom, as some people claim. Some people, including Linda Sarsour and Reza Aslan. Rather, it is prescribed in Islam, and the scholars are unanimously agreed that it is prescribed. Not a single Muslim scholar, as far as we know, has said that circumcision is not prescribed." Think about this. Linda Sarsour tells her followers that female genital mutilation isn't an Islamic practice. But actual Muslim scholars say that they unanimously agree that it is an Islamic practice and that they can't find a single Muslim scholar who doesn't think that it's an Islamic practice. Oddly enough, this would suggest that actual Muslim scholars don't regard Linda Sarsour or Reza Aslan as scholars, and yet Sarsour and Aslan are constantly paraded across news channels as experts. It's as if our news channels don't want accurate information about Islam. But let's see why Muslim scholars are unanimous on this issue. Their evidence is to be found in the Sahih Ahadith of the Prophet, which prove that it is prescribed. For example, 1. The hadith narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim from Abu Huraira that the Prophet said, "The fitra is a kind of natural predisposition human beings have because they're created by Allah, is 5 things, or 5 things are part of the fitra: circumcision, shaving the pubes, cutting the nails, plucking the armpit hairs, and trimming the mustache." This hadith includes circumcision of both males and females. So, female circumcision is part of Allah's created order according to Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam. 2. Muslim narrated that Aisha said, "The Messenger of Allah said, when a man sits between the 4 parts, arms and legs of his wife, and the 2 circumcised parts meet, then ghusl is obligatory." The Prophet mentioned the 2 circumcised parts, i.e. the circumcised part of the husband and the circumcised part of the wife, which indicates that a woman may be circumcised just like a man. Female circumcision was taken for granted by Muhammad, so much so that he could describe sex as the meeting of the two circumcised parts. Strange that Muhammad would take female circumcision as an absolute given, while Linda Sarsour describes it as a barbaric practice that has no place anywhere, let alone in Islam. 3. Abu Dawood narrated from Atiyah al-Ansariya that a woman used to do circumcisions in Medina, and the Prophet said to her, "Do not go to the extreme in cutting. That is better for the woman and more liked by the husband." But the scholars differed concerning this hadith. Some of them classed it as da'if, weak, and others classed it as sahih. It was classed as sahih by al-Albani in Sahih Abi Dawood. The fact that circumcision for women is prescribed in Islam is confirmed by the ahadith quoted above, not by this disputed hadith. But the scholars differed concerning the ruling, and there are 3 opinions. Now, lots of Muslims try to throw out this hadith from Sunan Abu Dawood. Worst thing they can do. The practice of female circumcision is established in the Sahih narrations, but the disputed hadith in Sunan Abu Dawood is where Muhammad says not to go to the extreme in cutting, i.e. don't cut out the entire clitoris, only cut off part of it. When you throw out this hadith, you don't have any restrictions, and female circumcision is whatever the doctor and the family want it to be. Muslim translators who are convinced that this hadith is authentic even distort texts about female circumcision to bring the texts into line with Muhammad's restriction. For instance, this is Reliance of the Traveler. It's a manual of Sharia. Odd that a manual of Sharia would be more than 1,000 pages long when Linda Sarsour can sum up Sharia in a single tweet. "I don't drink alcohol, don't eat pork, I follow Islamic way of living. That's all Sharia is." Let's look at the translator's version of what Reliance of the Traveler says about female circumcision. Circumcision is obligatory for both men and women. The O indicates that this is a comment from Sheikh Omar Barakat. For men, it consists of removing the prepuce from the penis, and for women, removing the prepuce, Arabic bazar, of the clitoris. Not the clitoris itself, as some mistakenly assert. The N indicates that this is a comment from the translator, an American Muslim. And the final addition is an A, meaning a comment from Sheikh Abdul Wakil Duribi. Hanbalis hold that circumcision of women is not obligatory, but sunnah, while Hanafis consider it a mere courtesy to the husband. Notice that the translator translates bazar as prepuce of the clitoris, the skin at the end of the clitoris. But that's not what bazar means. Bazar means clitoris. When Abu Bakr, Muhammad's closest companion and the first of the rightly guided caliphs, insulted a pagan by telling him in volume 8, page 76 of the History of At-Tabari, "Go suck the clitoris of Alat," a goddess the man believed in, the Arabic word for clitoris is bazar. So here's what Reliance of the Traveler, a manual of Sharia, actually says without the creative additions. Circumcision is obligatory for every male and female by cutting off the piece of skin on the glands of the penis of the male. But circumcision of the female is by cutting out the clitoris. This is called hufad. Reliance of the Traveler says that female circumcision is cutting out the clitoris, and that it's obligatory. The translator waters this down because he's trying to bring the ruling into line with what Muhammad said about not going to an extreme in cutting. If you call that a weak hadith, you're left with cutting out the clitoris. Is female circumcision starting to sound like it has something to do with Islam? From an Islamic perspective, there are only 2 areas for disagreement. First, how much of the clitoris should be cut off. A scholar's answer to that question will depend on whether he believes that the circumcision hadith in Sunan Abu Dawood is strong or weak. And second, whether female circumcision is obligatory, a girl has to be circumcised, or it's just very highly recommended and you'll just be treated like a whore if you aren't circumcised. This brings us back to Islam question and answer. The three opinions of scholars are: 1, that it is obligatory for both males and females; 2, that circumcision is sunnah for both males and females; 3, that circumcision is obligatory for men and is good and mustahab for women. Mustahab means recommended. The scholars conclude, thus it is clear that the fuqaha of Islam, the scholars of Islam, are agreed that circumcision is prescribed for both males and females, and in fact, the majority of them are of the view that it is obligatory for both. No one said that it is not prescribed, or that it is makruh, meaning disliked, or haram, meaning forbidden. All of the scholars said that circumcision is prescribed for females. Most said that it's obligatory. No one said that it's disliked or forbidden. No one except American Muslims like Linda Sarsour and Reza Aslan. And here's what I find most amazing. You can go to some of Linda Sarsour's followers. You can show them what the Muslim sources say about female circumcision, what actual Muslim scholars say about female circumcision, what Sharia manuals say about female circumcision. You can show them that what Linda Sarsour says about Islam totally contradicts what Muhammad and his companions and Islam's greatest scholars said about Islam. And they just don't care. Linda Sarsour tells them what they want to hear, and that's all that matters. That's terrifying, not only because there's an entire generation out there that has no respect for facts or reality, but also because female genital mutilation is a real problem for young girls around the world. And by constantly attacking people who try to expose the problem, Sarsour is ensuring that future generations of Muslim girls will have their genitals mutilated in the name of Islam because no one ever deals with the problem. One person who is trying to do something about the female genital mutilation problem is Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Sarsour once tweeted, Brigitte Gabriel equals Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She's asking for a censored whipping. I wish I could take their vaginas away. They don't deserve to be women. Linda Sarsour wants to take Ayaan Hirsi Ali's vagina away. Why is this disturbing? Ayaan Hirsi Ali is a former Muslim, and she's a victim of female genital mutilation. Islam already took part of her vagina. Sarsour wants to take the rest. Quite the champion of women's rights you've rallied behind there, feminists. But again, we can agree with Sarsour on one thing. Female genital mutilation is a barbaric practice that has no place anywhere in the world. But think about the obvious conclusion here. Premise 1, female genital mutilation clearly has a place in Islam. Premise 2, female genital mutilation has no place in this world. Therefore, Islam has no place in this world. Thanks for the new argument, Linda. In your honor, I'll call it the Sarsourian argument against Islam.
Wow! Wow, wow, wow. Another bombshell, powerful video by David Wood, the top apologist, against the lies and propaganda artists of radical Islam. In other top news, one in custody after fire set at Trump International. Also, crime-fighting robots may be coming to a mall near you. Look, R2-D2. Crime-fighting robots coming to a mall near you. Again, the dystopian reality of having nice little cute egg-shaped R2-D2 style robots. They're supposedly there surveilling and helping you. These only will migrate into larger and larger, more dangerous type of robots that we've shown on the King's Report. Guys, put up those pictures of the animal-like robots, which are very scary, very scary, very, very scary. They have that. That technology already exists. They have big ones, dangerous ones. These are just the ones they're rolling out to the public, so we get used to them and putting them in shopping malls and highly trafficked areas. So we get used to seeing robots all the time. We see used to being surveilled and monitored by robots. This, of course, in the wake of also law enforcement now getting ready to use robots to actually do law enforcement. And more you can imagine. Look at that. There it is. There's a dystopian, crazy, crazy Boston Dynamics, a company owned by Google, which of course is a top globalist censorship champion. Total political Satanist there at Google. There you go. And the robot, very, very scary robots there that are able to adjust to humans kicking it. Look at that, as hard as they can. Again, that's not only for entertainment purposes. The military, of course, has used this. DARPA is now implementing this, pulling this into their dystopian military tactics and weapons arsenal. Very, very deadly, very, very dangerous. Those things can be weaponized very quickly. Of course, it's always sold to the public in these cute little R2-D2 images and R2-D2 style robots, which look very non-threatening and non-dangerous. This, of course, if that was released to the public, that would be absolutely feared. That would be very scary. So, of course, they use this technology. The military now has this and have been using this technology for many, many years now, over a decade, I believe. Look at that, look at that.
Could use a few of those in North Korea right now.
Look at that right there. Can you imagine an army of those coming at you, all weaponized? Can you imagine that combined with drone and swarm technology, with explosives put on drones? I mean, very, very dangerous type of technology. And this is a type of normalcy bias once we get used to seeing robots, once we have, it's like North Koreans, they're used to seeing Kim Jong-un, they're used to that system, so they get what's known as a normalcy bias in psychology. And so when they get used to us seeing robots in shopping malls and getting used to robots doing everything for us and used to then we'll get, look at that, see the bigger ones, see the bigger ones also come out, see, there you go. They're more deadly and bigger ones. And of course there are ones that literally look like the ones in RoboCop, the ones that are actually completely weaponized with Vulcan cannons and huge fully automatic weapons and small missile function, etc. These kind of things is the dystopian reality that we are looking to in the future. So technology is a double-edged sword. It has conveniences that are given to the citizenry, but at the same time, archangels and political Satanists want to use it for control. And that is why Cheon-il-guk Constitution must come quickly to this earth. We thank God that his kingdom is coming fast, but it must come quick, because to stop the evolution of these robots, literally become Frankenstein. Frankenstein was actually the doctor that created Frankenstein, the monster, who then took over and killed Frankenstein himself. People don't understand it because they didn't even read the damn book. But we have become Frankenstein. The political Satanists are little Frankenstein, the mad scientist who wants to create these robots to authoritarianly control. They don't understand that this is also their own death knell in their own coffin. Elon Musk is one of the top science, experts, technology experts. He even warns that this is a demonic presence, that AI will literally problem solve humanity out of existence. AI will literally see problems human race that creates. Problems in the world are created by humans. Wars are created by humans. What is the solution? The solution is to get rid of humans, destroy them now. That is the logical conclusion of AI. That's why it is a demonic force. It must be controlled by humanity. Never. If it's given these kind of capabilities, and then we create a normalcy bias in the population and citizenry, and we actually give them robot rights, which they're talking about in the Congress in Europe, giving robot rights. What does that mean? That means that citizens cannot shoot them. For example, if you need a drone flying around in your property, surveilling you, you can't just blow it out of the sky with a 12-gauge shotgun. You'll be prosecuted for it, quote, infringing on robots' rights and or property of the government. They'll hit you with a double stack of laws. This is the problem, folks. And we must not get used to this type of dystopian reality. We must remain in control of our destiny, of our humanity, of our future. It must not be given over to AI, which will outsource us out of existence. AI that will problem solve us out of existence. No. Humanity is the ones who are given the right of be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over creation. Not robots. Not AI. It is a very scary thing when they're talking about malls having robots surveilling people and things like that. Then look at the justification. Look at this. This company is saying the justification is Sandy Hook. They're saying Sandy Hook is the justification. They're saying Sandy Hook. They don't want they want all the terrible things that happened in Sandy Hook to happen. That's why they invested in their robots. That's their justification, this company. Don't even get me started on Sandy Hook. We're going to go into Sandy Hook right after this break. Stay with us. Oh my goodness. Give me a break.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be with me? Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. Break our hearts once again. Help us to remember when we were only children hoping for a friend. Won't you look around? These are the lives that the world has forgotten, waiting for doors of our hearts and our homes to open. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. If not us, who will be like Jesus to the least of these? If not us, tell me who will be like Jesus to the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name. At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Thursday, April 27th, 2017, as I finished serenading the Queen with John Legend, It's So High. I used to sing that for the Queen all the time. That's what we're doing during the break. I'm serenading the Queen. She can't even hear me. She's got those earphones on. Oh, she can hear me. There she is. She's smiling at Daddy now. All right, folks. Well, there we go, baby. Now, before the break, we were talking about the Sandy Hook. How did the Sandy Hook come up? What we're talking? Oh, yes, the robots, and the justification for those robots in malls, and of course further on with larger and more dangerous robots is, of course, we don't want what happened at Sandy Hook to ever happen again to those school children. Thank you, leftist media, for bringing up Sandy Hook, because Sandy Hook has some very weird things that happen here. Let's go to Wolfgang Halbig, one of the top experts on Sandy Hook, breaking it down with Alex Jones on InfoWars, but Wolfgang Halbig, let's listen to his credentials and listen to this interview.
As soon as it gets here, make copies on memory stick or whatever, we will get a special report out, because this needs to be seen, of them being shut down at the school board, then trying to go to United Way and others that famously suck up the Oklahoma City money, the 9/11 money for themselves and give it to anti-gun groups. That's how this whole scam works. United Way, Red Cross, I mean, they're just vicious organizations. A lot of good people work for them and do good work, but back when I first covered this like 15 years ago, nobody believed me. They're well-known scamsters, basically Democratic Party operations. But the bottom line here is that then the police blocked him from going in a public building that by law he's supposed to be allowed into. So Wolfgang joins us to cover what's happened to him currently, and now he's being blocked from investigating. He's been visited repeatedly by, quote, law enforcement telling him he better back off. They're acting scared to death, folks. Okay? They're acting scared to death about this big production they put on there. And the good news is the majority of people I see across the board and I meet do not believe any of this stuff anymore. Now, we'll get back into, after he recaps what just happened, we will get back into his biggest questions concerning it. But Wolfgang, thanks for coming on.
Back, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Go ahead.
Well, I really wish you could have gone on this trip. And I think it's important that every listener clearly understands that, do I want to be doing this? Absolutely not. I'm retired. I mean, I got my AAP card. Had these police officers, had the homicide investigators not come to my home a week before Christmas, Newtown would have never heard of Wolfgang Halbig. Nobody would have ever heard of me because, as a national school safety consultant, I simply was sending the FOIA request, Connecticut Freedom of Information request, asking simple questions that's not offensive to any of those parents who supposedly lost a child, not offensive to Danbury Police or the Connecticut State Police. And to this day, they don't return phone calls. They refuse to respond to any Connecticut Freedom of Information Act. And when we were at the school board, I had 3 minutes. I had a chance to talk to him. And I said, Chairman, you talk about honesty, that everybody's supposed to be honest here in this room. Where's the honesty? Why don't you return phone calls? Why can't you respond to simple FOIA requests? I mean, you're an educational institution. You're supposed to know how to communicate. And what really was important is that in March, Alex, the Freedom of Information Commission out of Hartford, Connecticut, actually sent an instructor to Newtown, to Sandy Hook, to teach them on how to respond to FOIA requests, that they cannot ignore them, that if they are public documents, they need to be presented. I mean, they actually had somebody there before I got there to teach them how to do it and what they must do. And guess what? They're in defiance of him. They're not even listening to their own Freedom Commissioner. Unbelievable.
And it is unbelievable. And we actually aired a few nights ago on the InfoWars Nightly News the video of that transpiring. You're going to send us the video of going to the United Way and being blocked, which you were telling us is illegal. We're going to get to that in a moment. But we do have that video and that special report. We will play your 3 minutes coming up. But why do you think they're acting so desperate to block you? And tell folks what happened at the United Way.
Well, I think the reason they're not answering those questions, because I think it's going to expose their whole scam. I mean, the questions, they come from my background as a law enforcement officer and customs agent. I think you need to know, when you have a security system, you should know who installed the security system. How much did you pay for it? What did you put in? I mean, you ought to have emails between the principal and the school district talking about work orders, talking about finance, transportation. I mean, it actually will tell you whether the school...
There's no history. There's no history. There's no nothing.
They don't want to respond. See, that's the whole thing. When you don't respond, it raises the red flags. And this has been going on for 11 months. And they don't even return a phone call. Me as a principal, Alex, I may not like you as a parent, but if you call me, I have a responsibility. I've got to call you back. This district, they just do whatever they want.
Very suspicious. And when we come back, I want you to recap for folks as an investigator and as a school safety expert, who's again been sourced and used on CBS News, you name it, a leading national expert, coming out and saying this doesn't fit. In the next 6-minute segment, Wolfgang, I want you to come back and explain to people, but in 30 seconds, what's the biggest smoking gun that tells you this thing is staged?
Well, it starts at the United Way, Western Connecticut. If there's one thing we learned about people in America, it's always follow the money. And I think when you look at the amount of money that has been poured into Sandy Hook and Newtown because of this incident, it all starts at the United Way, Western Connecticut, who actually, you saw it advertised 3 days before the shooting.
We're going to talk about that, Wolfgang. Stay there. Yeah, and Bloomberg, this is in the news. He false started it the day before as well. So break down, sir, just to a layperson out there, the smoking guns of this and why you started investigating and why they're so desperate to try to intimidate you.
Well, it goes back as we ended the break, is that this is all about the money. I think it's all about the money, and what really caught my attention was the letters that were drafted, that were actually written to two nonprofits called the United Way Western Connecticut and the Sandy Hook Promise Fund, which is a pass-through from the United Way Western Connecticut. And the Connecticut Attorney General, his name is George Jespin. I'm looking at his letter, and he really told them that, as fiduciaries, that they are accountable to the public, and they must be transparent in every way, since they're soliciting and they're recruiting funds from major corporations, that they must be open, transparent. And also, he made a big note that if they are soliciting money under false pretenses, that they need to be very, very careful.
I understand. We'll get into all the minutia of an investigator trying to get in, but why are you saying United Way is so important? What are the big smoking guns? Because I know you're inside this investigation, but for folks out there, what are the red flags?
Well, the red flags is that you're looking at $29 million. You got the United Way, Sandy Hook Promise, and there are 39 other community nonprofit organizations within Newtown which received a lot of funds. For an example, the Animal Shelter in Newtown, Sandy Hook, Alex, they got $450,000 from the Sandy Hook shooting. Now, what does an animal shelter have to do with the Sandy
I understand. You're saying the motive for the locals to go along with the fraud is money.
Absolutely.
I get that. I'm talking about the crime scene itself. Recap that.
Well, the crime scene itself is, it's not the way we in law enforcement respond to any type of shots fired or 911 calls. It just does not make sense. And I go back to the very beginning. Any listener, I think the only way I think your listeners will understand, whether they're grandparents, parents, guardians, you have to actually close your eyes and pretend that you had a child at Sandy Hook that morning on December 14th, 2012. You really have to pretend that you heard on the news there are shots fired. And all of a sudden, your heart starts racing, and you get to that school, and all of a sudden, you know that somebody says, "Oh, I think your little girl or little boy was shot, and they might be seriously injured." And then you all of a sudden learn that somebody at that school did not bother to even order the trauma helicopters. That is unheard of. I don't care where you go in this country or around the world, you get the medical help, you get the best in the air as quick as possible.
Bottom line, there was a stand down. And you've blueprinted all that out on your website, but I saw it happen. What about the kids going in circles back and forth, the same people, into the school for the helicopters? It looked like a fake drill. What about the guy in the woods that got picked up in the same outfit who was part of the anti-terror team? Just go through those points.
Well, okay. I'm glad you reminded. I'm trying to stay focused just on the kids and not having trauma helicopters, and I cannot believe they didn't let paramedics or EMTs in. But you're talking about the people they actually caught in the woods, and you can hear the words even in the police recordings. They've got them proned out. Alex, they got him handcuffed. One of the people actually is carrying a firearm. He's got a firearm that they caught in the woods. But do you think they would have run his name to the computer database? Do you think they would have run a 1028, 1029 checking through the NCIC computers to see if there's any outstanding warrants. Alex, we don't even see their names. Every person that was apprehended, handcuffed, taken into police.
The cover-up is the prima facie proof of the larger crime and that we're being lied to.
Absolutely. You know what? I don't see it. You know, I wanted to say that at the board meeting, that if you go home tonight and you turn those lights out when you're about to go to sleep, how in the world can you live with this? There are so many lies there, and it's not just by the school board member. It's by the Danbury Police Department, Connecticut State Trooper. You know, when you read the police reports, that's not how we write police reports. Remember, each one of those reports, Alex, are taken under oath. They swore that this information.
So you're a top school safety expert and have been a customs official and a police officer. You know bull when you see it. I don't have all that background. I know bull when I see it. I mean, you got Anderson Cooper in green screens saying he's out there. I mean, this just the whole thing. And then you've got him jumping the gun. I mean, I think that's really big that Bloomberg was saying, get ready the day before, get ready to fundraise on mass shootings. You know, on your mark, get set, boom, pull the trigger too early. Had a false start, didn't you, Bloom me? You know, people can make fun of Dan Bidandi because he's just a real guy and has a heavy East Coast accent, but I really admire Dan Bidandi, our reporter on the East Coast, because he's the guy that went up during the Boston bombing that was a total drill on record with the older brother, Tamerlan, being a CIA asset on record. I mean, it was in major British and German news 2 years before and then after the bombing that the Russians had blown a bunch of spies' covers by going to the U.S. consulates and giving them a list of names, his name among them, saying, hey, this guy's allowed to fly with a fake name. He works for you, huh? They were sending him out of Georgetown through a Zbigniew Brzezinski group, CIA funded on record, over to Chechnya to literally work with the extremist groups. Now, does that mean he was infiltrating them to spy on Al-Qaeda? Does that mean he was part of it? We don't know. The guy, did he get turned and then actually came back and did a real bombing? We don't know. The point is that went on. That should be a big news issue.
Well, the first thing I got to say before I get into that is that thank God I've had 67 great years of great life. I got a beautiful family. You know, I'm getting threats all the time. I got some crazy people out there. You know, they're attacking my wife, they're attacking me, and everything else. But you know what? All they have to do is answer 16 simple questions. You and I wouldn't even be talking today. It's unheard of, okay? And I think the school board members and the superintendent, they have a responsibility of telling the truth. Alex, I cannot believe that a public school system, and you know, when you look at the school itself, when you look at Sandy Hook, it is a filthy school. That's what I wanted to talk to the board members about. It is a toxic waste dump. When you look at the data, and here's what they didn't realize, they put it in their own newspaper before they demolished it. Sandy Hook had the highest level of lead paint throughout the entire school. Sandy Hook had the highest level of asbestos in the ceiling tiles and ceiling floors. It had the highest level of PCP in the groundwater. It's contaminated. Now, here's the question. Connecticut law requires that every parent must be notified of those hazardous chemicals because they have serious health effects on children, which may not be seen until 5 years later. Now, why would those 18 of the 20 parents that moved into Newtown in 2009 enroll their child in a school with all those hazardous chemicals? Their parents just don't do that. They don't expose their little children to chemical hazards.
Well, let me just stop you. As an investigator, kind of like they got Al Capone for tax evasion, not for all the murders or money laundering, you're looking at how they don't do any of the standard stuff, the paperwork, the police reports, no helicopters sent, no rescue, kids going in circles, totally staged, men with guns in the woods getting grabbed, no names released. They deny it went on, later have to admit it went on, but say we're not answering questions. I mean, clearly it's a drill, just like the Boston bombing. I don't know exactly what's going on, but the official story isn't true. And again, I've read a lot of criminology. I'm not a cop, but I've studied a lot of it. And just from a lay media investigative journalist perspective, something is rotten here. And then you see it duplicated over and over again. What's your bottom line? What do you think really happened at Sandy Hook? People can see your 16 questions at sandyhookjustice.com. And we just salute your will to go up there and have 8 police cars block you at United Way and have them shut you down at the school board, at the commission. But bottom line, what do you as a almost 40-year investigator, police officer, you name it, what do you think's happening here?
Well, until they answer those questions, I can tell you children did not die. Teachers did not die on December 14th, 2012. It just could not have happened. And it's in their words. It's not what Wolfgang thinks or it's just my opinion. It's what they say. I mean, their own words actually show that it could not have happened. Who declares 27 people legally dead within 8 minutes? Nobody does that. Who has a 99.9% kill rate? Shooting children in a school within 8 minutes. There isn't an FBI agent, there isn't a Navy SEAL that's that good of a shot within 8 minutes and then kill himself. I mean, that's reasonable doubt. I mean, that in itself is reasonable doubt to show that Adam Lanza could not have done that. I mean, he's an autistic child. He's got Asperger's. Alex, nobody has a 99.9% kill rate, not even the New York Police Department.
But he's a perfect cutout. And for those that don't know, the reason that is, even if you're shooting people point blank in the head, the bullets change direction, they go different directions, and I mean, a lot of times I've shot a wild hog, a deer, you name it, and the bullet deflects off. Even if you hit them broadside, sometimes it just deflects through. You don't get 99.99 kill rates. It's just incredibly hard to do.
It is, and and the thing that people, they haven't had time to read that 7,000-page report that was put out by Stephen Sedensky, who's the state attorney in Danbury, Connecticut. Even the governor's own commission, Alex, the governor's own handpicked Sandy Hook Advisory Commission calls this 7,000-page report the biggest data dump that they've ever seen. Now, this is his hand-picked commission, and it's redacted. This is a commission supposed to read it, study it, and come up with recommendations, and they get a redacted report. Now, what does that tell us?
Well, everybody's compartmentalized, and everybody's just playing along with the peer pressure.
Yes, they are.
Just like the police officers on 9/11, were told, get back, they're going to blow up Building 7. It's on video. I heard it on CNN, heard it on CBS News. Have the video. The cops saying, get back, they're blowing it up. I'm not saying the cops blew it up. I've interviewed the police officers on this show that are on CNN saying, get back, they're going to blow it up. And they said, no, we were told on the radio, they're going to blow up Building 7, get back. And there was a countdown on the Red Cross radio. They were running it. And again, they use United Way, Red Cross as the CIA cutouts. If you look that up, that's mainstream news. And they were there telling the cops what to do that afternoon. Incredible. And they're there hearing the countdown. I've interviewed not one, but 2. One of them was a EMT, the other a cop. And boy,
I think America, I cannot tell America, this is probably our only chance to unite and come together and look for the truth. And this house needs to fall because Sandy Hook is taking away our guns across the country. Sandy Hook is messing with our freedom of speech. That's not the America that you and I know, Alex.
And they raise hundreds of millions of dollars, billions in the case of 9/11, collecting money off of people's goodwill, and
they're not involved.
That's right. It's always the same players.
It's the same players, and when you have 8 police officers, forcibly stopping me from just going in with an attorney, and when they have in their hand the IRS regulations, something is seriously
By the way, that was really a false detainment or false arrest. That's a civil rights violation.
Well, we're working on than that. But you know what?
Anyways, an interview with Wolfgang Halbig, former law enforcement and customs agent, top national school safety expert, breaking down what happened to him when he went to Sandy Hook to actually question the Newtown board. But he had, I saw, this was not the interview. I saw the interview where he really broke down point by point from, they're not calling the trauma, not letting EMT in, the ambulances in, not allowing, they demolished the building right after the investigation. They had like 28 different bathrooms that were ordered, the porta potties out in the back, and they had Christmas wreaths hanging on each one of them, not on porta potties, Christmas trees that were out there, and then there was like 28 kids that were supposedly dead, and they already had ordered the Christmas trees of the 28 kids that were dead before they were dead. Like days before, you actually see the footage of all these Christmas trees, of 28 Christmas trees, and then this was even before the quote shooting happened. Okay, so he goes into it way more in depth. There's actually video of this. Another investigator actually got police footage of the actual building, cop cars that were actually pointing at the building, and they compared it with the police report that said like at 10:34 this happened, and then they show the video of the police car, and you see the clock on the police car, and it says 10:34, and you see these cops like walking around drinking coffee. There's nothing going on. There's no massive drill. There's no massive chaos. People, shooters coming in and running in, and people freaking out. And going, There's none of that. Nothing. I can't remember which video that was. But they actually have retrieved the actual police footage of the buildings from the cars, from the actual cars, which are regulated, which by law all law enforcement must have in their cars. And they go by the time frame, like 10:38, whatever time it was, 8:45, whatever time it was, and they actually show, okay, this is what was happening on the ground at that exact time. And not only that, the smoking gun, of course, is that they demolished the building. It's disappeared. It's decimated afterwards. It's ridiculous. I mean, give me a break. That's the reason why they want to bring in robots to surveil the population. That's the justification because of Sandy Hook. Absolutely ridiculous. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. See you on the other side.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group, made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. Thursday, April 27th, 2017. I am your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And we have to blast through these headlines real quick because we don't have too much time left. 5 things we know about Trump's tax plan and 5 things we don't. On an article by John Carney, the Trump administration on Wednesday proposed a wide-ranging tax overhaul that would slash taxes for businesses and simplify income tax for individuals and households. Proposals bare bones outline rather than a detailed plan, leaving many things to be worked out in negotiations. What we do know are 5 things. Here we go. A much bigger standard deduction. The administration wants to double the standard deduction for individuals and households, exempting far more income from taxation. The change would raise the deduction for couples from $12,700 to $24,000 and raise the deduction for single filers from $6,300 to $12,600. A married couple will not have to pay taxes on the first $24,000 it earns. National Economic Counselor Gary Cohn said the larger standard deduction reduced the value of itemized deduction, such as deductions from charitable giving and mortgage interest, because the tax savings from these is proportional to a household's marginal tax rate. This minimizes the impact on households from the elimination of most itemized deductions, including in the plan, and decreases the distorting effects of the mortgage interest deduction. All right. Now, second point, a lower top rate and fewer tax brackets. The proposal calls for the number of tax brackets to shrink from three from 7, with marginal rates of 10%, 25%, and 35%. Currently, marginal tax rates start at 10% and rise to a top rate of 39.6%. Number 3, keeps charitable giving and mortgage interest deductions, eliminates the rest. Trump's plan would leave in place the deductions for mortgage interest and charitable contributions, while eliminating other deductions, including deduction for state income taxes that benefit residents of high tax states. The impact on most households of eliminating those deductions, however, will be cushioned because of the rise in the standard deduction and the rise of the top rate. As the values of a deduction is a function of the marginal tax rate, the loss of the ability to deduct state income taxes might also incentivize wealthy Americans in high tax states to lobby local lawmakers for lower tax rates. Keep in mind that only 1/3 of filers currently itemize, and with the increase in the standard deduction, that number would certainly shrink. Those households would most likely be hurt by the loss of itemized deductions are those with very high incomes, many of whom will see their taxes fall because of the decline in the top rate. Number 4, a big tax cut for businesses large and small. The plan would cut taxes on business income dramatically. The corporate tax rate would fall to 15% from 35%. Unprecedented, the highest since 1980? Was it 80s or 60s? Amma, was it 1960s? She can't hear me right now. She read it on the Korean news. But that is the lowest corporate tax rate that we've had for decades. The tax, which would, of course, is just going to let businesses pour on back in. They're going to come in, boy. My goodness, American manufacturing is going to be turned on again. Put China out of business. That's good. Put those totalitarian red horse fools out of business. Kills the alternative minimum tax, the Obamacare investment tax, and death tax. There you go. The administration's plan also calls for the abolition of the alternative minimum tax, a sort of secondary tax code originally designed to prevent very wealthy Americans from using deductions and loopholes to avoid paying taxes. It adds complexity to the tax code, and because it was indexed for inflation until recently, it is no longer only applicable to the super wealthy. According to the Taxpayer Policy Center, it hits around 30% of households with income between $200,000 and $500,000. This plan would eliminate the estate tax, better known to conservatives as the death tax. This applies an additional tax to those who die with an estate worth more than $5.49 million. Many of the wealthiest families, however, avoid the tax by using trusts and other tax shelters. As a result, it is expected to apply only to around 11,000 in 2017. Well, we don't know which incomes levels apply to which brackets, what happens to corporate cash stockpiled abroad, how will the child care tax break work, what will it cost? There we go. And will this pass? So again, Trump working on the taxes and the tax bill. His team now proposing some very good proposals. There you go. That's an article. Top article by Breitbart. Judge who blocked Trump's sanctuary city order raised $200,000 for Obama. There you go. Another leftist lunatic, a total commie. Judge who is, again, blocking Trump's sanctuary city order, and he is one who has raised $200,000 for Obama, showing where his colors lie. With a big ticket win in first 100 days, Ryan touts flurry of blocked regulations. There you go, Ryan, the total warmongering, two-faced, lying Republican rhino politician, Trump's worst enemy, totally two-faced. He has to get rid of that fool. That idiot should resign because he was such an abysmal failure with Ryan Care, just simply making Obamacare light, keeping all the taxes, all the mandates, all the total stealing and funding of the foreign insurance companies. Just total ridiculousness, and these idiots stay in power. FCC unveils plan to put net neutrality on the block. I hope that's the cutting block. Federal Communications Commission Ajit Pai revealed plans to put net neutrality on the chopping block. That's good. An Obama-era rule that regulates the internet as a public monopoly and being able to censor and shut down any alternative views. So that's fantastic. Basically, the FCC taking over the radio news broadcasting systems of the United States and being able to regulate them, essentially what the CIA did with the newspapers in Operation Mockingbird. 100-day scorecard, Trump vows to destroy Islamic State, keep Gitmo open and aid Christians. Senators say White House briefing on North Korea sobering and important. And Coulter says not building the wall is a government shutdown. There you go. Fake news. News's question of the week. Will Trump risk a government shutdown or over the wall? And Ann Coulter there saying the government's number one job is to protect the nation. This has always been true, but it's especially more important at this moment in history when we have drugs, gang members, disease, and terrorists pouring over across our border. The failure of the government to close our border is the definition of a government shutdown. This isn't like other shutdowns. Democrats can't wail about Republicans cutting the Social Security or school lunches. They are willing to shut down the government because they don't want borders. Take that to the country. As Commander-in-Chief, Trump doesn't need Congress to build a wall. The Constitution charges him with defending the nation. Contrary to what you may have heard from various warmongers on TV and in Trump's cabinet, that means defending our borders, not Ukraine's borders. She's making brilliant points. I mean, this is it's absolutely right. Building a wall is not only Trump's constitutional duty, but it's also massively popular. Although Trump doesn't need congressional approval for a wall, it was smart for him to demand a vote. Let the Democrats run for re-election on opposing the wall. There you go by Ann Coulter. You want to chime in on this quick, Tim? Okay. France's Macron booed by factory workers chanting Marine Président. Boo to Macron. Boo to Macron. Globalist French President candidate Emmanuel Macron faced animosity from workers at a Whirlpool plant facing closure during a campaign visit after anti-mass migration. Candidate Marine Le Pen made a surprise visit hours earlier. There you go. Macron is the one who says to the French people, get used to Islamic terrorists. It's just going to be a way of life. It's just our modern country. That's how France is going to be. We just have to get used to this. We have to be multicultural. And we have to be tolerant. Just get used to the terrorism. Total Rockefeller Rothschild. He's the Rothschild candidate. He has all these connections to the Rothschild banks. So total fraud. And again, the Rothschilds revealing themselves again, trying to place their banker people into positions of power. Of course, the Goldman Sachs people making trouble in the Trump administration, allying with the warmongers and Republican rhinos. That's not good within the Trump administration. And of course, using Jared Kushner and Ivanka as the weak point to get into Trump's administration. Planned Parenthood Lamborghini executive haggles over price of baby parts. $50 is on the low side. There, another demonic woman, again, being caught on tape. The Center for Medical Progress being caught on tape with a Lamborghini executive, again, haggling over the price of babies. Planned Parenthood, again, being revealed, exposed as being in the trafficking, in the selling of human body parts, of young babies' body parts. This is the definition of demonic culture, the definition of Satanism as actualized by political Satanism, but heralded by real Satanism. These people are Satans on earth, literally bringing in his civilization and his kingdom. Top 100 days of Trump in Asia, winning over Duterte, Gulf with Abe, and a not as good deal with China. The administration of President Barack Obama made much to do about their pivot to Asia, an attempt to prioritize the continent over traditional alliances with Europe. Partly due to this policy, President Donald Trump entered the White House facing tensions at an all-time high with rogue state North Korea and at a diplomatic disadvantage in regions like South China Sea. As a candidate, Trump defined his Asia policy much like he did his attitude toward domestic political issues, identifying a clear enemy, vowing loyalty to allies who help contain the threat, and promising the American people that he would only make good deals at the negotiating table. With the expectations of North Korea and Japan, President Trump has proven somewhat more malleable than the candidate. Trump has demanded an end to tensions in the Korean Peninsula and proven he prioritizes that conflict by sending his highest-ranking officials to Seoul and Tokyo to pressure Pyongyang. In Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Trump has found steady support after choosing him as the first head of government to meet with following his election in November. With China, however, the Trump administration has kept its diplomacy tactful, and Trump himself has offered Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping something his voters would have never expected the candidate Trump to do. A, quote, not as good, quote, trade deal in exchange for keeping North Korea from attacking its neighbors, or worse, the United States. Below, an in-depth look at how Trump tackled the region's major alliances, tensions, and unresolved problems during the first 100 days. There you go. Professor wants children to learn queer theory in elementary school. There they go again, the liberal lunatics, political Satanists. There we go, Kristen Gonkill. There it is, another lady, feminist, crazy, insano, progressive, liberal Satanist professor at the University of Arizona. Kristen Gunkel argued on behalf of introducing queer theory into American elementary school curriculum in a recent lecture that took place last night. There you go, into elementary school. Children must learn queer theory. Tim? Queer theory, according to Gunkel, examines why heterosexuality is portrayed as only normal and natural form from human beings. There you go! There you go! She wants queer theory taught to elementary school kids, 5-year-old children, just like the districts in Chicago funded by the UN educational programs. These people are disgusting, despicable. They're hypersexualized children, so they can put them into the Planned Parenthood, baby-killing abortion clinic, buying and selling a baby part system and creating more clients. At the same time, hypersexualizing these kids so they never become politically active, never be able to stand up against evil, and never going to stand up against the actual predators that loom over them and control their lives because they're so sexually deviant, so sexually destroyed and mentally deranged. How can you expect anybody to have a normal sexual life when they're hypersexualized at 5 freaking years old by these crazy, demonic, whacked out professors who want children to learn about binary genders and sexuality constructions, collapsing heteronormativity, and opening spaces with science educating of the marginalized identities, teaching children how to masturbate at 5 years old. This is disgusting. This is the reason why people are opting to not send their kids to the public indoctrination camps known as public schools. Ridiculous. Demons. Get them out of here. White House calls for deep cuts to taxes on families, individuals, and businesses. We cover that. Ivanka Trump opening border to Syrian refugees has to be part of the discussion. Won't be enough by itself. There Ivanka is again. Ivanka, the weak link in the Trump family. Ivanka, the one who's being wined and dined by Google executives. Ivanka and Jared Kushner, the one who's being wined and dined by New York elites, being pressured by her social network groups, being lifelong Democrats. Jared Kushner being a lifelong Democrat. These people are totally ridiculous.
She's the most powerful Democrat in Washington today.
There she goes. There you go. And she's in the White House. Trump has a weak spot because he loves his children. But these children are not what the American people voted for. They're not what we elected. They don't represent. They represent the New York elitist Bloomberg class. And they're not hold the same values as the father. At least she doesn't. I think the boys are a little bit different. But the girl, again, being sucked up into the total rhetoric of the feminazis. Poll, huge shift in Sweden as majority now want fewer asylum seekers. Wow, that's a big shift. There you go. Despite media and despite government, Archangel always lying to the international community, the mood on migration in Sweden appears to have dramatically shifted this year, with the majority of people now saying they want the Nordic nation to take in fewer asylum seekers. The most recent survey conducted in autumn and winter found that 52% of the respondents said Sweden should slow the migrant flow, with only 26% opposed to the idea. By contrast, Swedes asked the same question in 2015 were almost evenly split on the issue. 40% said they felt the country should be receiving fewer, whilst 37% said they want to see the influx continue. Supporters of Swedish Democrats were most keen to see migrant flow slowed, with 96% of respondents who backed the anti-mass immigration party saying the country should cut numbers, etc. There you go. After the mass rape epidemic, after Sweden becoming now the rape capital of Europe, now Sweden becoming totally imploded by, quote, cultural enrichment, they've now been able to face their reality, and now people, at least on the ground, even though media and government is constantly telling them the opposite, constantly telling them that we have to continue to implode the program, the country, that we have to have no history, that we're not supposed to be proud of our heritage, none of that. We just have to implode our country, let the takeover happen, let the foreign invasion happen. Ridiculous. And talk about foreign invasion, the Chobani CEO, Ulakaya, CEO of Chobani, the yogurt company, based out in Idaho. He's a Muslim. He is a Turkish individual from Turkey. Came in the 1990s. He's a billionaire. This guy is going after, he's suing InfoWars and suing different members of the freedom community who reported on him because this guy was 100% for the refugees coming into Idaho because he's a Muslim apologist. And he was helping them, and he has tweets where he has pictures with George Soros, and he loves and praises George Soros and works with George Soros and the Clinton Foundation, all these kind of ridiculous criminal crime syndicates. And he's the one who comes out and says, we need more refugees coming in, we have to be compassionate, blah, 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 blah. And now these refugees come in. There was 2 just the other day that confessed that they have raped a 14-year-old girl. They're not only in court now, but they admitted that they've done it. And of course, the mainstream media never covered it, but the real media, the Liberty media, covered these stories and showing that, look, this guy is actually supporting the migrations in. He's not actually choosing rapists to come in, but he's supporting the mass migration to come in. Idaho, which is now becoming ravaged and becoming more taken over by these Muslim apologists. Now he's on a suing part, and he's on the Federal Reserve's the New York Fed's board of directors. This is a Turkish individual, and with the non-disclosure, with the disclosure that they could probably get through the law courts now, the law case now, they'll be able to determine whether or not this guy is actually a Turkish citizen. Literally, it's possible that you have a Turkish foreign person sitting on the New York Fed board of directors, which even U.S. citizens cannot even look into. U.S. citizens don't even know what's happening on the board. It's above the law. It's beyond any type of exposure. It's beyond any type of disclosure. It's beyond any type of observation and or investigation. It is completely illegal. And this guy, Chobani's president, is on the board. Now, when these kind of people try to use their political clout to force Americans to do crazy things, for example, like Starbucks saying, we're going to hire immigrants because all you people are racist, blah. Their stock fell by 27%. Target trying to force transgender bathrooms on people who are common sense, who want to protect their children. 43% drop in their stock. Now, Chobani, because they've come out as totally globalist, totally supporting the implosion of modern civilization, completely allowing, mass migration to come in, people unvetted, and now basically covering for these kind of assaults and rapes that are happening in their localities. This CEO, Ulukaya, being on the board of the Federal Reserve, okay, which is above the law, which even normal Americans can't get into. How is this foreigner who is George Soros backed, Clinton Foundation backed, total globalist, total political Satanist, now trying to go after the freedom community? So again, if you are buying non-fat GMO Greek yogurt, choose a different company, folks. Don't support Chobani. They are a completely globalist, political Satanist, radical Wahhabi Islamic apologist, refugee, imploding, taking the takedown of America, Western civilization, and freedom in general company. Not that all the people that work there are bad, but this CEO is now coming after the people in the freedom community because he's got lots of money. There's plenty of non-GMO Greek yogurt out there. Choose a different brand. Be smart. We'll see their stock plummet as these people as they're living in their fantasy box. There it is. Wandering securities robots take over America. Bokhari, Bill Nye, destroyed his scientific credibility in a single Netflix episode. There's the idiot Bill Nye, the total propagandist, Bill Nye. What a pathetic idiot. On the weekend, questions arose as to whether the organizers of the Science March, a highly anti-Trump movement dominated by leftists, cared more about politics than by science. In his Netflix show, which include a celebration of the most deeply unscientific feminist-inspired theories on gender, Bill Nye, the most prominent face of the Science March, had given us an answer. The show's very first episode opens with environmentalism and climate change, 2 topics of relentless focus for Nye. They involve politics as much as they involve science. And the very title of this new show, Bill Nye Saves the World, suggests that Nye plans to spend as much time lecturing as he does explaining. One wonders if Nye holds airborne writing sessions for the show in carbon-spewing jet the same way he celebrated Earth Day with Obama. There you go. Bill Nye saves the world. This is ridiculous. Drag queen, drag king, do whatever feels right. You're a tall, pansexual, flirty wood sprite. Give me a break. This episode can be best summed up by the closing segment of the show, which features an internet meme singing a song about her vagina. It includes the following lyric, etc. So ridiculous. Thanks to Bill Nye and Comedy Central for making me realize that I'm better at writing politically satirical lyrics than paid professionals. Please refer to Bill Nye as a science person, science folk, or science thing, or a guy is not an approved gender-neutral term. Thank you. This guy is one of the most arrogant, just so arrogant. Whenever he debates people, he's just like, no, we the experts say, no, you don't understand science. You're not a scientist. You didn't have our approval. We the scientists say this, and you don't understand science. This is how he talks to people. He's just so freaking unbelievably arrogant. And of course, now showing how unbelievably idiotic he is in his new program. Mexican border mayoral candidate is brother of Los Zetos cartel boss. And he's running for mayor there on the Mexican border. I wonder who he'll be helping on the Mexican side. There you go, folks. North Korea flexes military muscle. There you go. North Korea's space nuke program greater than ICBMs. Senior Trump official, military preparation underway for North Korea. Soros-linked Chobani yogurt sues Alex Jones Infowars a refugee rape fallout. There he is. There's that guy. Soros' friend, Chobani, there's Ulukaya. There you go. Clinton sex victims. Slam MSM over O'Reilly coverage. I'm disgusted once again by how hypocritical liberal media can be. Paula Jones says the victims of Bill Clinton's alleged sexual assaults blasted mainstream media for dismissing their accusations while praising the recent sexual harassment charges against Bill O'Reilly. Again, showing that the mainstream media is not media. It is politically biased, political, left-wing spin operation, propaganda machine. There is so much going on, folks. On this day, Tim, you want to chime in real quick? Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, one more that we need to cover today is NAFTA, because Donald Trump, during the campaign, said he was going to get America out of NAFTA. And as late as yesterday morning, it looked like that was what he was going to do. But then in the afternoon yesterday, he had a phone call with the Mexican president and the Canadian prime minister, and he changed his mind. He says, not going to cancel NAFTA, not going to get America out of NAFTA. Now instead, we're going to renegotiate it. He called it updating it. But that's going to take time. So in the meantime, perhaps the next year or more or so, NAFTA, the current form of NAFTA is going to be in effect. And so that whole thing, what happened? Suddenly he changed his mind over lunch yesterday, apparently. So we'll have to see what's behind that.
That is not wonderful news. Of course, he pulled us out of the TPP, NAFTA being North American Free Trade Agreement, and basically which merges North America, South America, and Canada into one, quote, free trade agreement, free trade, area. But essentially what it does, it enables unelected boards to supersede constitutional regulation and our constitutional rights. Basically being able to create rights that are against the Constitution and supersede the Constitution. So these are very bad, very bad. Trump has to keep his promises. Again, he's starting to twist. He's starting to twist on a lot of these things. And it's the nature of the beast. And that's why we told him he's got to tweet the Bible. He's got to stay biblically centered. He's got to bring back Christian culture. He's got to stay out of the White House and stay in his gold tower. Stay in the gold house. The gold house is better than the White House. The White House is a den of demonic power. Trump is, in many aspects, doing a great job with the economy, but in other aspects, he's spinning, he's twisting. And that, we have to hold him accountable. That's how the people and the citizens of the nation open their mouth and share their voice, create a groundswell which allows us to alert the president and those kind of things. Even though, look, don't worry about whether or not you have 1 million viewers or whether you have 2 viewers. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It is the act of being engaged in liberty. It is the act of being engaged politically. It is the act of being alive and an agent for free change, for free will. It is the act of being to be engaged in the war that allows all collectively to create a massive power base that then stimulates for change. Don't make it an ego trip. Who cares how many viewers you have? It's not an issue. The point is that you spiritually unleash your authority in the name of Jesus, in the name of your spiritual authority given you by the Lord of Second Advent, standing with the three kingship. You have authority over the angels of this world. You have authority over the demons to cast out demons. We must stand in our place. We are the microcosm. And as we stand in our place and we unleash that spirit, the macrocosm gets influenced. The macrocosm moves together. We combine, we stand with, we allow the spirit and the physical to stand together against the forces of darkness, principalities and powers and the spiritual wickedness in high places. Folks, it's not all about physical, political realities. It's also about the spiritual nature of things. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of food, exercise, eat organic foods, all those kind of things, great. Also take care of your spirit. Make sure you're in relationship with God. Make sure you repent of your sins. Make sure you're going to the Word and studying the Word every day. Go to the Word. Go to the Word. Go to the Word. That gives you power. It tells you the true identity of yourself, the true purpose of yourself, the true relationship God wants to have with you so that you can stand as one who is inheriting His kingdom, looking forward to the kingdom that is coming. For He said, pray every day thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we are the inheritors of those kingdoms, those who stand with true Father, the King of Kings, His third kingship, the triennial constitution, and the kingdom of God that is coming. Stand in your position. Stand in your spot. Stand with authority as your tribal king and queen. Rise up not for your ego, not for your own praise, but to build up God's kingdom and His citizenry that is now rising from the ashes of defeat. We're now standing in an important crux and time in history. Thank you for joining us today on Thursday, April 27, 2017, on this edition of the King's Report. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp, on the King's Report, praying every day, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen, amen, and adieu. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come. We'll see you tomorrow, 5 a.m. sharp.